Hello everyone. Thank you for coming back for the second day of our leadership skills for Africans in health research. So I see people joining, the number is going up. We had a very interesting day yesterday. So yesterday we were mostly talking about theories in terms of what is leadership. Leadership in general, we defined it theoretically. We talked about what it means in our context in Africa. And then we talked about leadership for a researcher, what it actually means. We spoke about different styles and practically what to do when you are a leader for a research team in the African context. It was quite interesting because we had a lot of questions and it was quite interactive, and I actually felt bad because there were so many questions that I did not get to at some point, and I apologize for that. You can always reach me by email. I'll put my email in the chat for any questions that I did not reach. So today we'll leave the presentations for a little bit. We will have a panel discussion. And for this panel discussion, we actually have some real research leaders. And I have to say, I'm very happy to see an all-female panel of research leader. That's quite refreshing. You don't see that very much in our world. So I will give the floor to Leo, who can talk about the housekeeping and introduce the panel.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Sylvie, for this. The first day was really exciting, and I believe most of us who were here yesterday can confirm to that. So today, I'll just kind of remind all of us about the housekeeping rules. This workshop will be recorded and will be shared on the Global Network platform via the CANTAM hub in the Global Network, as you see on the right-hand side of your screen, to automatically translate the speech to subtitles in your chosen language. Navigate to the closed caption function and select your language. Due to number of participants, your video and microphone have been disabled, and you'll be allowed to say something when we give you the right. Please use the chat function to introduce yourself or to report any technical issues that you may be facing, and a Q&A function to post your questions and comments. If you would like to make a verbal contribution, please raise your hands and we will unmute you. So I think those are the basics that we have, and in case of any other instructions that will come up, we will definitely get to you on the chat. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sylvie. And I think this day too, we will definitely be we'll start with the panel discussion, and it will be very, very exciting. We have 4 interesting, powerful ladies that all our dreams, maybe especially the ladies, who one day love to reach that height. And I'm sure many of these participants will ask why only the ladies, but the truth is this workshop is sponsored by the Global Health Network, the EDCP and the UK AIDS. So, and the acronym is WISE, Strengthening Gender Capacity in Clinical Research within the CANTAM network. And it's like we wanted to make it global so that all Africans can benefit. The reason why you see the leads are women. Thank you for your participation once more. And I think I'll give the floor to Sylvie to open up and share the panel discussion. Actually, the panel discussion will be made up of Prof. Francine, Prof. Marielle, Prof. Veronique, Dr. Andrea, and Prof. Marie. they all are from different institutions and different countries. Prof. Francine is from Republic of Congo and is our coordinator and is also the Director General for the Fondation Congolaise pour la Recherche Médicale in Congo, an NGO. She's also a lecturer and a professor at the Marian Wabi and also in Tübingen. So she has many caskets, which I think many of our ladies would love to one day learn how she does it. And she's going to give a brief introduction on how she managed to navigate some of these functions. Prof. Marielle, she's actually the vice rector in the Université des Sciences de Santé in Gabon, and she's one of the work package in this WISE project. Prof. Veronique Penlap, she's also one of the leads of this WISE project, and she's a professor at the University of Yaoundé Department of Biochemistry, and she's handling mostly working on TB and co-infections. She's also part of the chair in the Kali University of Central Africa, where she's also heading the Department of TB. Prof. Andrea, she's from Tübingen, and she's working as the lead for this work package. Actually, she's the one who gave an opening speech yesterday regarding this activity of strengthening gender capacity in clinical research. Prof. Marielle also is one of our powerful lady who is managing so many African students in Netherlands, and I think she will also brief us exactly her journey and how to strengthen this, our female gender. And some men also claim that they are also suffering and think they'll profit. Those who are connected will be able to benefit from their discussion. Thank you. Over to you, Sylvie.
Okay. Thank you so much, Leo. We have an extremely rich and powerful panel. I'm really looking forward to it. Prof. Tumi, I actually realized that when we met in Arusha, it was about 16 years ago. But let's not age ourselves. But it's been a long time that we've met. So basically, this is how I propose that the panel works. We can, whoever wants to start is fine with me. What I propose is that you tell us about your journey as a leader in research. How did your first opportunity to lead come about? And since then, how have you progressed until now? If you can give us 1 or 2 examples on your successes, 1 or 2 examples on your challenges, and how you overcame the challenges. That will help a lot. So, who wants to start?
Oh, okay, let me start.
Yes.
So, good morning or good afternoon or good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. And that's, interesting to define ourselves as a leader. First, because when you are an African female, it's not, common to say that, okay, I would like to become a leader, or I am a leader. We are always behind, the man is the leader. So that's one. But we are scientists, and we know that scientists are, female scientists are less represented. So as per se, it's a responsibility for us when we get any responsibility to acknowledge that, for being able to show to our young sisters, young daughters, that it's possible. And how I became a leader, I would say, by writing grants when I've got not the postdoc, but just after the postdoc, when I got my first position in Gabon at CIMF, I wrote a very not outstanding, a very competitive grant, the MIM grant. It was the first round of MIM, Multilateral Initiative on Malaria process, when this initiative were established in 97. And the first round, it was highly competitive, and I was the only female to be awardee, and with other senior like Professor Ogobara Dumbo and others. So this grant gave me the opportunity to show that I was a leader, because I have to establish my own research group, to lead research activities, and to have results, because, you know, I know that people was watching at me and wanting to show this young scientist, if she will be able to deliver. So I would say that was the start of the endeavor, and I've never stopped, because I realized that having a grant as a female scientist was really a powerful tool for being able to develop my own ideas, to train who I want to train, and also to develop infrastructure like I wanted to develop them. So that's one. And the second, the success would be the establishment of the Congolese Foundation for Medical Research. And maybe we will talk about the obstacle and challenges later. I let my sisters to respond to this question. Thank you. Listen,
you're muted, Sylvie.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, thank you so much. That is so much appreciated, because you remind us of what we discussed yesterday about breaking through as a leader. Nobody will come and hand it to you. So you cannot sit down in the lab and think that somebody will call you, oh, will you come and lead this? It's not going to happen like that. You have to, yesterday we talked about knocking on doors. You keep knocking until it opens, or until they tell you to stop knocking. If they don't tell you to stop knocking, you just keep knocking. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, so who will go next?
You want me to go next?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I'm Maria Jasdambars, and I'm leading the Leiden University Center for Infectious Diseases. It's a huge entity now. And before that, I was the head of parasitology. And because we did so well, that they wanted me to lead even a bigger group. So yes, it is a leadership thing, but how did it start, you're asking? And I appreciate what you say about you want to, you know, break barriers. It might be a bit different depending where you are. I was in Europe. I think one of the very significant things was, and that is for all of us to work towards, and also others, was, you know, there was the EU grants, European Union grants. And I was a scientist, and nobody called me to say, come and be a member, join our consortium. And then the EU said, you have to have a female participant in your consortium. The telephone did not stop. They were calling me the whole time. Would you like to be in our consortium? Would you like to be in our consortium? And I think that was really a moment. So why I'm saying it is everything that Francine said is very true. Whatever you've discussed, we need to be very persistent. We need to be ambitious. Nothing will come and be handed to you, but policy change is also very important. And that's why this is so important, because it's showcasing women. And if opportunities for grants come specified for women, then things can change. And otherwise, it's very difficult. I agree. But, you know, you have to continue trying. I think it's very important to be generous, not to be paranoid, work together and network. And as a woman, without losing your position and saying, oh, no, it's okay. You know, I always said I want to be a professor. Why not? And all the women colleagues were going, oh, no, I don't need to be a professor. Why not? So Yes, I think I'll stop there so the others can share, but this is what I wanted to share with you for now. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much. And thank you for bringing up the policy points, because we also discussed it quite a bit yesterday. Things will not change if policies are not in place. And once the policies are in place, we have to make sure that they are actually implemented, and because they could be in the text and then nobody does anything about it. So thank you so much, Prof. Maria, for bringing this up. So Dr. Andrea, I think you're it.
Yeah, it's very interesting also for me to listen to my leaders, I have to say, to listen to what Francine and Maria said. It's also, I can also still learn. So I am a research group leader here at the University of Tübingen. This is placed in Germany. And I became a group leader. No, I did a PhD in malaria research already 20 years ago. Then I had a very brief short postdoc time, and then it's very interesting. I see this also mentioned by Francine and Maria. Actually, I got the chance to become a group leader also by a grant, because there was a call by the German government. And this was not specifically for women, but it was for young researchers. It's also that young researchers need to get a chance. And so this was a call in neglected tropical diseases, a field where I had prior experience, and then I applied. And honestly, nowadays, having written so many grants and successful grants, when I think back 15 years ago, yeah, I'm quite, so at that time, from my nowadays perspective, the proposal was not perfect, but I'm also grateful to the, to the reviewers or to the funding agency that they give young researchers a chance, because at that time when you write a grant, it's not, I mean, now I would have written it differently, but they gave me the chance. So this is also a bit towards policy, that there needs to be specific possibilities specified for young researchers. You cannot expect to set the same level as to us now. And what I have learned, and then suddenly I was a group leader. I was not, I was always interested. I did like my topic. I did like the network I was working in. That's why I applied, and then I became a group leader. I still like it, but I want to keep it. So everyone, I think, develops its own method how to lead a group. I want to have it rather, I like to have it small. I like to understand what people are doing. That's what I'm doing nowadays. And this is what I want to share so far with the audience here.
Very much appreciated. And thank you for bringing up the point about young researchers. There are opportunities. There are opportunities. I see them practically once or twice a week for young scientists, young health researchers, because that's my world. And you just have to apply. It's like going fishing. You don't know. Just send your fishing pad, and then you will see what comes up. My very first grant was from what is it? WHO. It was only for $15,000. $15,000. That was it. And those are the low-hanging fruits. Those are easy to get. Those 10,000, 5,000, 15,000, 20,000. It doesn't seem like much, but it gives you a foot in the door. So don't be shy for applying for those young researchers grants. because they allow you to gain experience. Prof. Penlap, long time. Thank you so much for joining.
I think she's still setting up. We
Okay.
can proceed.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah.
All right. So thank you so much for the experiences that you shared. It was very important for our audience to see how you were able to break through. And we all see that it was not easy for anyone. And it's definitely not handed to you. That's really the lesson to keep in mind here. You have to go seek it out. You cannot be passive. As a researcher, if you want to progress, you cannot be passive. You have to be active. And I believe I think it was Prof. Maria and also Prof. Francine who talked about the networking. Because I think it was Prof. Maria, you said that because you end up being a member of a network, they called you to seek you out because they needed a female in their grant. We talked about it a lot yesterday. Join your network. I will repeat again, if you do not have a LinkedIn account before the end of today, please set up one. All right, so while we wait for Prof. Penlap, if she comes back, she will be able to tell her story. We can open the question and answer. Please put your questions in the question and answer tab and not in the chat, because there's so many things in the chat, it will be difficult to get your questions. So please put them in the question and answer tab. Leo, do you want to help us?
Sure, I can help with the questions.
Thank you, sir.
I think for now I have two interesting questions. We have the first question is from Mohammed Baruku, addressed to Prof. Maria. Okay, Prof. Maria, if you had the opportunity to embody an animal and lead others as that animal, which one would you choose and why? Thank you. That's the question from Mohammed.
So that's interesting. I need to be very familiar with animals. Well, one of my favorite animals is actually the cheetah. So that means running very, very fast. So I'm not sure if that's the only leadership quality I would want to say. So I think it's very important that so if cheetah is very fast running, it has to make sure that others run with the cheetah. So in that sense, it might not be the right animal in terms of leading a whole team. So I think it's really important as a leader, if there are also leaders here, really to make sure that everybody has their position in the group that is well appreciated, that everybody has the same ambitions aligned in their own power. And I really spend a lot of time on young people. I believe in young people. I think continuously we need to stimulate the young. So I don't know which animal is the best one. Maybe kangaroo, taking care of its baby for a long time. So maybe two animals.
Yeah, great. I like your feedback. Your response is really interesting. Yeah, the second one I think is open. Hi, I am Aminatu Kone from Mali. Is there any possibility of building a mentorship program to boost the young generation after such a great workshop? Thanks. So it's
Sorry,
open.
can I just say something? Because we have a hub, which I think some of you also know, and there is actually a mentorship program, but this is on immunology. So if people are interested in immunology and vaccinology, I can share that with you if you don't already have. And there is a mentorship program there. Just to say that there is this thing already. Francine, you probably know Abena Amoa, and also, YUSUPOY supported Johan and Eunice, and they're part of this hub also. So maybe we can connect that for immunology and vaccine interested people. but that's just a no.
Yes, if I wanted to respond also to the first question regarding animals and research. For Central Africa, we have the example as animal, the ant. Because the ant, you know, works, it's small and reflects female, by the way, you know, very active, but work as in a collaboration, like Maria and Andrea said. We work all together and the ant work in a group, but with well-defined roles for each one, but for a common objective to support the queen of the group, but not only the queen, but everyone. So I would say the ant represent really what we all together are doing, building health research capacities in our respective environment. So that's one. And the second, in terms of mentorship program, yes, with WISE project, the mentorship program is led by Andrea in our network. And of course, then maybe in the next step, we may open that to those who need. So we will see how to expand, because at the moment, our mentorship program is within CANTAM institution, meaning Central African institutions, but we should be more ambitious and open to really the ladies who want to be mentored by us. We will work on that. I don't know, Andrea, if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, thank you, Francine, for bringing this up. I was already starting how we could open it, but you gave an idea within the next WISE program. So we need mentees, so students, but we need also mentors. So the 4 mentors or 5 we are within WISE, it is too little. So it's always about building the mentee-mentor pairs, and highlighting what is important. So it's, as I tried to explain yesterday, and so it's not in the focus are not scientific research question, what should I do in the lab? It's all things around, all soft issues, so to say, but sometimes the soft issues are quite hard around, and this should be addressed and in a trustful relationship. This can be discussed within this pair, and a mentor is helping as far as he or she can the student. So this is the idea, and yeah, I'm very open to expand this in the next round, and let's see what we can do. So yeah, over.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Hold on, Leo, if I could just intervene just for a second. I hope that all, and if I'm not mistaken, WISE will be just for women, right? So the mentorship is only open to women. Okay. So I'm really hoping that for those on the call, please take notes. As soon as you see an opening, this is a great opportunity to join a network, to join as a mentee, and then you see how you develop. I do need to bring up also a mentorship network that we have here, but it's only in Cameroon. And of course, we are willing to open it up. It's the Higher Women Consortium. And Higher Women, oh gosh, if I remember, I think it stands for Higher Institute for Growth in Health Research. It is led by Professor Rose Leke. And it's the holistic mentoring that you were talking about, Andrea, is what is done for Higher Women. It's not yesterday we talked about the difference between a mentor and a supervisor. Your mentor is not your research supervisor. Your mentor is there to support you holistically, meaning that yesterday we talked about the challenges that a woman face in terms of what she faces with her duties at home. I hope you can hear that music outside my window.
No, we don't. We don't.
Okay, good, great. So that is what we need as a women. That support, not just the scientific part. Of course, you can do that also, but that holistic support. So it will be good for anybody in the audience. Please take note. I don't know, Leo, maybe you can send the link for the WISE, and I can send the link for the higher women.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I just want to add to what you've said, that even on the FCRM website, there's this pharmacians that support women, and women can easily integrate by visiting the site and trying to link up. This, as Sylvie presented yesterday, you have to push yourself into a network until they feel you. And when they feel you, they'll hold your hand. And it's from holding your hand that you can get into the network and be proactive. Thank you. So the next question is from Deary Glory. How do you deal with imposter syndrome if you are chosen because of your gender? Sylvie, I don't know if you understand the question.
Yeah, I do. I do. Imposter syndrome is basically when you are in a position, but you don't believe that you deserve to be there, and you don't believe that you are qualified to be there. I said yesterday over and over again, I refuse to be a victim. I am not a victim. I refuse to be a victim. I'm talking about me personally. I worked extremely hard to have 2 master's degrees, 1 PhD from Johns Hopkins University. If I am somewhere, why would I be an imposter? I worked to be where I am. My CV speaks for itself. I am not a victim. So when I am somewhere, when I get there, now it's for me to show that I deserve to be there with what I produce and the quality of my work. So please, let's not be victims. We are not imposters. If we're here, it's because we deserve to be here.
But Sylvie, if I may respond to this question, it's funny because honestly, I had this syndrome, or I don't know how to call that, but because, you know, it's the part of the success. Because when I was younger, because I was a Black African female, I have been invited sometime in meetings, in closed meetings where there were males, scientific males with, you know, higher experience. You know, so you feel yourself, you ask yourself, but why I am around the table? I remember very well a meeting, there was 2 Nobel Prizes. You know, when you have your PhD only, I don't know, even 5, 6 years before, you know, it's difficult for you to suggest anything, any ideas. You think, oh my God, when I will say something, I'm not intelligent enough, and you have this feeling that you are not at the right place, and it was due to, because you didn't have the experience. Now today, you know, okay, if I have been invited, it's because of my CV, etc. But when you are young and these first experiences, you know, you have a strange feeling, and you are, for African, you are most of the time, you know, only 1 or 2 African or Black people, you are a female, it's heavy to carry that when you do not have enough experience. So you may have this feeling that you are not imposter, but that you are not at the right place. But you know, as Sylvie said, people invite you or give you the position because they feel that you are strong enough to carry the duty they give you. But I may understand that feeling. But yeah, and also because as female, we African female, we do not as used to be at the front line. We are not used, you know, to say that, okay, yes, I am the best, that's why I'm there. We always, you know, be behind, you know, when someone tell us, okay, that's cultural way. But this, as Sylvie said, this has to change. We have to be proud and to, you know, to be sure that when we are invited and we are around the table, it's because of we deserve to be around the table. So, okay, over.
That's a good point, because especially as African women in our culture, we are socialized to be seen and not heard. So you're supposed to just sit there and look pretty and not heard. But we are researchers and we break through. So I don't know if Prof. Maria and Dr. Andrea want to say something about imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I want to share two thoughts actually, who partly fit to this topic. So one thing is that yeah, when what Francine said, when you think, now I don't say anything, I'm too stupid, or I mean, yeah, there are really excellent people, and I don't doubt that there are scientific-wise people that are much more clever than myself. But on the other hand, I can do something, and then if I'm a bit in this situation, I think yes. But I mean, others, what we say in German, so kochen auch nur mit Wasser. So they also use water to cook. So they don't have special crazy ingredients. So a bit to reduce to not just be taken the words out of the mouth by the excellence others have achieved. I mean, yeah, you also can do it. They are not magic. So this is one thing. Yeah, or maybe the major thing I thought I wanted to share with the young people. So a bit to not put the others on the too higher level. I mean, yeah, they appear so, but you can also do.
Exactly. It's not magic. There's no magic pill. Thank you. Prof. Maria?
Yeah, I just want to say that I think it has to be a good balance between, you know, feeling, you know, this, yes, I'm here, you've invited me. I mean, I think it's good to also be a bit, feel the situation and be modest enough at the same time. You know, sometimes if it goes over the top, you know, very soon if it's a woman, they call, oh, that's a bitch, you know. So you have to be careful. So be clever with how you position yourself. But I just want to share one thing. I was very young indeed when I was sent to this Leiden University Medical Center, the scientific committee where we discussed strategies. And I was the only young woman, and the rest were all men, these tall, gray-haired, white, gray-suited men. And it was really, I used to dread going to those, but I forced myself to go. And I went there and I tried to say some things at the beginning, you know, very quietly, what about this? And nobody responded. 2 minutes later, a man said the same. Oh, yeah, what a good idea. So I'm sure many people have seen this. And So you have to
Yes.
bear and don't give up, go to them, and after a while, make your sound a bit stronger and say things at the right moment, don't mumble. And if somebody, after a while, when somebody mentioned this, I said, oh, you're reinterpreting or you're rehearsing what I told, you've said again in a very, polite way. So after 5 years, I started enjoying it, but not before. I don't know if that helps, but.
Yeah, no, it takes time, and it definitely takes it takes practice. But you have to dare. You really have to dare. Because even if you are in the room, we're talking about breaking through barriers, right? So you get in. So now you are in the room. Nobody will give you the chance to speak or to shine. You have to dare. You have to dare. And of course, we also talked about it yesterday, being diplomatic about it. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. You don't want to step on anybody's toes. Because in this world of health research that we live in, I usually say that it's very incestuous. You run into the same people all the time. So you want to be diplomatic. You don't want to burn bridges. But at the same time, you want to assert yourself. Thank you. Much appreciated. Leo, do you have another question?
Yeah, there are so many questions. So I think we will take them as quick as possible because, I mean, they're very exciting questions. I think the next question is linking up with some of these discussions. So Vincent wants to know, please, what were the main challenges to getting your first grant as a PI? They want to know the challenges.
Good question.
All of you had as PIs for your first grant. Over.
Who wants to start? Challenges. Can I say something? Oh, go ahead, Dr. Andrea, go ahead.
What are the challenges? I mean, you do your best and it's, you write the grant and it takes, I think it's just a huge work because your other work, research work, is also running in parallel and a bit your private life or whatsoever. So, but you don't, you just forced yourself to sit down and write and write and write. And you ask more senior people to have to help you a little bit in the structure if it makes sense or so. And then you need luck. And I think the challenge is not to give up after the first grant that was not accepted. So I think this is this is the challenge, not to give up.
Yeah. What I wanted to mention, the writing is difficult. Let's just say it as it is. Writing is difficult. I remember asking myself, why am I writing so much? I'm a scientist. I'm not a literary person. When I was choosing my path, you know how in high school they separate us literary or arts or science? I chose science. So why am I writing so much all of a sudden? Writing is definitely difficult. It's something that you have to learn to do. And I do want to address the non-English speaker, non-English native speaker, which I'm not. I don't believe that Prof to me is. I don't know about the others. But because we are in science, English is the language of science, and most grants that you'll be going for will be in English. Very, very few are not in English. So if you are not, if you don't have good writing skills in English, I would suggest that you develop them, because that's just how it is. English is the language of science. Okay, challenges. Prof Tumi, Prof Maria.
Can I just suggest something that I've noticed when I review grants? Sometimes, I'm on the committee on Wellcome Trust, and they encourage for African or, from low middle income countries to submit. And I noticed sometimes that maybe, so two things. One is try and get an example that was successful. get an example of grants that were successful. So you see how it's written. And the other thing is, please read the instructions. I never used to, at the beginning of just write and, but you need to read what they're really asking for. Read all the instructions so you answer the right things in the right sections. I think that's really important. And don't be shy to ask for examples. I think that's also important.
Both to me, any challenges in writing grants?
No, I think I don't have more to add. I do agree with what has been said.
Thank you. So we will note that in terms of writing grant, just go for it. Go for it. Look for people around you that can support you in the writing. Look for examples, because if you read a grant that is successful, especially if it's the same call, maybe a grant that has been successful in the same call that you're going for, that makes a lot of sense. But in your network, you also need to get some support from people that have experience. Much appreciated. Next question, Leo. Leo, you there?
I'm there. So the next question, which I think I just want to add that the participants should understand that Prof. Ntume is from Congo. He's a Francophone, but she has fought her way through with English. And you will not believe it, she wins her grants with English. She didn't mention a challenge with that, but she has gone through a lot to get that mastery. So as Sylvie said, everyone should work on their capacity in language if you're not English. Yeah, so just to add, the next question is from Okechi. You've mentioned grants for young researchers. What about opportunities for researchers, for task researchers who started late doing a PhD in their 50s? So they want to know if you started your PhD in your 50s, are there still opportunities for them? Over.
But if I may respond to that, it depends on the call for proposal. I mean, if it specifies, I remember that some calls are, they say, oh, no later at the age of 40 years old. So it depends on the calls. If it's open, why not? You are a young researcher, even you are 50. So that, I don't know if Maria has another comment, but
I agree, but I have to say there is this ageism. I mean, let's face it. So maybe that's also on a policy level, to make people realize that some of the trajectories are different, and especially, to be honest, already at PhD level, PhDs who finish in Europe are younger than PhDs sometimes who finish on the African continent, for example. And we've had this discussion with EMBO. So in EMBO, they're trying to open up and not be the European Molecular Biology Organization. They're very keen to really work on diversity. And we've had these discussions because some of the panels are looking at the papers and go, oh, but this person is already 35 and just got the PhD. 35 is not that old for, getting a PhD. So again, going to policy, engaging with organizations to also have the reality on the floor, how it is, would also be again important. Yeah, communicating different situations.
And what they do sometimes, we have to pay attention. Sometimes they don't specify the age of the person, but they specified how many years since you've had your PhD. So they would say, for example, if your PhD was less than 10 years ago. So they don't specify the age of the person, but there's another way of measuring young experience. So keep that in mind. Sometimes it's not always the age when they go for early career. They will say early career scientists or researchers. Sometimes they do specify the age. Sometimes they do 35 years of less. And we're like, ooh. But sometimes they say, if your PhD was not before 2015 or something like that. So you have to read
But
the instructions.
isn't the tip that, try and do your PhD as early as possible? I mean, maybe, to get ahead with saying what are the possibilities. Let's face it, I think if you get even if you've done your PhD 2 years ago and you apply and you are 50 versus 30, I mean, the committee, we know the reality. So I think it's also a tip. I agree. It's very good to look at it for the call, but I think you'll be discriminated against anyway, to be honest. And I think it's good to bear this in mind. Do your PhD as soon as possible if you can. Don't wait too long.
But if I may also comment on that, I'm on the board of L'Oréal jury, and for PhD, African PhD, we have raised this issue, and now because at the beginning of this award, I think the candidate should have no more than 25 years old, something like this, and we have explained that the African situation is different. So now it's more open. Yeah, the age is no more a barrier for the candidates, female candidates. So we also need, different boards try to raise these points that the
Exactly.
age. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
For us all, we should do that. Yes, absolutely. Nice that you've done that, Francine.
Yeah, I think that's a very smart idea, Professor, because some women, they decide to have all their kids before re-engaging into studies. So by the time you have your 3-4 kids, you're already in your 40s. So what do you people think? I mean, it's another way to support the female gender to continue their career instead of dumping them in the marital home as housewives. So it's very encouraging, that fight, Prof. Francine. I really admire that. So I think if there's no more comments on that, I think we'll go to the next question from Harel. Is there a network of women researchers in Africa that also include women researchers from the diaspora? So that question is a straightforward question. I don't know if Sylvie, you can answer that, Professor. Anybody?
Is there a network of women researchers in Africa that also includes women research from the diaspora? Actually, the High Women Consortium, of course, is only in Cameroon because it was actually set up as part of a grant. It was a WHO grant, another one of those 15,000 grants that we took advantage of and set up the network, but it's only for Cameroon women. But in our bylaws, we do write that not just for Cameroon women actually, but women who work in Cameroon. So that would include even people in the diaspora. But other than that, but I'm not sure, there are so many networks out there if you just do your research.
I do not have a clear example in mind, but I'm sure it's open. I don't remember that. The network we have here in Congo, Women in Science, it's open. The grantees should be in Africa, but Yeah, for support those in the diaspora, they have to come from, you know, to leave Africa and go to Europe for a certain period, I guess. But I need to check. That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. I don't know.
Oh, we can create one.
All right, so let me just add this other question, which I don't know, but it's like, is there any forum for public health researchers? Is there any forum?
The Global Health
researchers?
Network.
Yeah, there are many.
Please, Leo, please, if you can put the link. There's a wealth of information on the Global Health Networks, a wealth. There's training, there's courses, there's guidelines, there's publications. Please join, sign up, be a member, go through the site.
Yeah, you can really benefit from the Global Network. It's free, it's open. So, I mean, why don't you benefit? There are many female scientists, nurses who are really excited. Go to the Global Network, and it's a forest of information that is given for free, so people can benefit, you know. So just be proactive and curious. You'll get what you want.
And you can even do an assessment of where you are as a researcher. There's an assessment tool on the Global Health Network. They will assess your career where you are now, and then you can have an idea of where you want to take it. There's a tool.
Yeah, that tool is the PDS, Professional Development Scheme. So if you go and take that school, if you're confused about your position in your career, take that tool. It's a little bit, nothing good comes easy. It's a little bit long and challenging. But if you want to get something, you must pass through the fire. The moment you pass through the fire, it will not come out the same. So take the tool, and it will classify your position, and it will tell you what courses to take to be wherever you want to be. And you will see your pathway changing. So it's very exciting. I think Ohemu Pius can put the link on the chat box so that everybody can visit the PDS.
I think they already did. Louis is very reactive.
Yeah. he has the tools in his fingers. So yeah.
They already did put it in the chat.
Yeah. The next question is from Bola Joko. I am already a professor, but I have never gotten an international research grant, though I have received local research grants and international travel conference grants. I have applied a few times for international research grants without success. What is the way forward?
The failure rate is huge. That's just how it is. The actual statistics, and this was published somewhere, is you had to write 100 grants to get one. So how many have you written? That's the statistic. Some of us are luckier, much more luckier than that. But the average globally, 100. You write 100 to get one. It's not easy. Does anybody else want to contribute?
I mean, I think it's a very, where did you apply? Did you read what it was? You know, I mean, it depends. And did you get an example of a successful one to see how it compares with yours? I think you need to follow up and see why you were not successful. Sometimes you have to call the funders and say, why was my grant proposal not successful? Give me tips, because I really would like to put in a grant that will be successful. I think, you know, don't just try. I think you need to see why it has failed also.
And what I want to add and underline what Maria said 5 minutes ago. So it's very, very much important to understand what the funder really wants. So you have your research idea, you want to develop a diagnostic test for malaria, for example, but you need to read what the funder wants, and then you need to change, to adapt your idea to make it fit what the funder wants. So it's really crucial to understand what the funder wants. This is I think this is what I see in many proposals that has been submitted, for example, to the European Union. I'm a reviewer there. So, and this is a very difficult task to make your idea fit. And sometimes it simply does not fit, but if there is a chance, and this is, you need to understand the other side. So this is going more towards how to write a grant proposal, but this is a key, where everything starts.
And as Sylvie said yesterday, it's always good to get into the network. I think when you look keenly, the highest grants are networking. So, and from those networks, you learn a lot. So it's always best to don't be an island. Try to get involved. Get involved. There are many ways to get involved, and then I think you will get you'll see your path. It's never so written on the wall. Yeah, Sylvie, you had to say something.
And I'm going to put CANTAM on blast here. Because CANTAM is a network. Prof. Tumi, please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it was established maybe 2009. And now, 16 years later, you are on the third round, if I'm not mistaken, of the grant. And CANTAM is a network of Central African institutions that are doing clinical research for tuberculosis, HIV, and malaria. So you see that if you were part of CANTAM in 2009, you see where you will be today, 2025. So by being part of a network, one, you don't work by yourself, you are part of a team and you're supported as a team. And it's much easier to move forward as opposed to just applying all by yourself. We talked about it a lot yesterday. The founders don't always go, they don't anymore. They don't go for individuals. They don't fund individuals. They fund networks. They fund consortia. So the key is really to get to into a network. And don't forget those low-hanging fruits, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000. Those are a lot easier to get than the 5 million grant, but at least it gives you practice in writing. And once you've had one success, it feels good. And it gives you a lot more confidence. So don't underestimate those small grants.
Yeah, thank you so much. And many participants, many fellows always come up to me. How do we do to get into the network? It's it's not like open, it's not an open door that you just walk in. So as I say, you have to get to these institutions. You have, okay, the network is made up of who and who. You know that is Francine, who is the lead here, Penlab is the lead here, Professor Akim, Marielle. There are many leads. So get to those leads that fit your profile. I mean, you fit your profile, discuss with them, present them your work. Maybe there's a work activity in that work package, they'll give it to you. I mean, it is not, they will not do everything. They'll give it to you, and if you perform well, you automatically become part of the network. So it's a continuous fight. There's no magic spell that you just walk through. You have to demonstrate your ability and capability. They say, okay, hey, this is an interesting fellow. We can work with the person, you know. That's the way to get in. Because people are really always curious. How could we get in? How could we get in? So I think that's one of the best routes to join a network. Yeah, so the next question is from Jerry Glory. She says, how do you balance your work as a leader, your continuous growth, as a researcher and in your family life?
Very good question. Open to the panel.
If I may start, I will say, I don't know if it's women or men who asked the question, but
I think it's a woman.
my response will be that we do what she's doing. Because as a female, we used to do so many things at the same time, so many things. So even someone is not a scientist, but as a female, we have to take care of the family. We have to take care, you know, of the house, and we have to take care of our professional life. So for each of us, that's the same job or position. So now as a leader, I would say the difference is that as a leader, you have more responsibilities, and maybe it's also it could be many travels. You have to leave home and leave a family, and as a female, it could be as a mother, it could be challenging, but maybe Maria and Andrea will explain, but myself, I remember it has been challenging, and I have someone to take care of my son, and I have to be very, very well organized. Very, very well organized. You could be in a meeting talking about a grant proposal to talk about high top science, and you receive a call, okay, the baby has no milk, but you know, you bon, that's all of, but I would say the key word to be very well organized, but to not sacrifice, to not have in mind the sacrifice, you know, to say, okay, I wanted to be, I don't know, to go to this position, but I didn't go because I have sacrificed everything for my family. That's not good. That's not good, this word, because you need to find a way to achieve your goal. If you are ambitious, you want to be a professor at the university, okay, that's the goal, the professional goal, okay. But of course, you want also to take care properly of your family. So you need to find the right balance and take the right time. If you know, your colleague is professor in, I don't know, in 6 years, okay, you will be professor in 10 years. But you will achieve your goal. But at the same time, you have a nice family, well raised. So not to be in competition with others, to have your own agenda, to go to at your own speed, but you know you will achieve the different objectives. So that would be my answer. Over.
I can.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to add that for so you have the different topics you need to take care of: family, research, the group, the grants, the papers, and so on. And I accept that for a certain time there is some disequilibrium, whatever, amongst the topic, but over time I make sure that all these parts get my attention as they deserve. So for some time, maybe I ignore a bit my students because it's now writing the grant proposal to get money to pay them. But then after submission, I will make sure that I have some time and take care of the students. So it's always a bit, overall, there should be so it should be equal, but maybe not always. So for limited period of time.
So I think again, a network is very important in this. I think it'll be good if you can make sure you have support. And I think that's really important, both family side, it's important to organize support, but even at work, that, you have good colleagues, that you ensure that you have good colleagues, that, when you're busy indeed writing a grant, they can maybe take care of some of your students. So, maybe in addition, I thought it was very beautifully put, the balancing act, and never sacrifice and be, a victim of, oh, I sacrificed everything to become a professor. I agree. It's very nice to look back and see that you've done both your family, also your other achievements and social net. But I really believe very strongly in creating good network that supports, good support network, basically, both for science, for household, for family. So if you can organize that, then it will work. It'll be easier, at least, and you don't need to make much sacrifices. Think and plan. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Either ask for help or pay for help. Why does your family need a fresh meal every day? Is that really necessary? Every single day, they need a fresh meal that was cooked that same day. In my house, if I cook Sunday, I might cook again on Thursday. That's just how it is. You can't be perfect everywhere all the time. So the house doesn't have to be, I don't have to be the one dusting every single day. It's not necessary. We want to be the very nice homemakers, but that's not necessary. The other thing that you definitely need the support. The other thing that I wanted to mention, it also, for those who are younger, who have not picked their mate yet, be careful with who you pick as a mate, because you want a mate that supports you. You don't want a mate that would also end up challenging you. So choose your mate very, very carefully. For those that have not chosen. For those that have chosen, if you chose well, bravo. And if you didn't choose well, so sorry. Because your mate makes a big difference in terms of what you can do, how far you can go.
Yeah, thank you so much. Those feedbacks are really, really interesting. And I believe our participants are learning so well. And this session is really rich. It's deep. So I think, and please, I would like Sylvie or anybody to really explain this concept of mentorship, because it's coming over and over. So I believe there's an issue, because Tony just asked, Tony from DRC, about mentorship program. Is there some eligibility criteria to be part of it?
I think I can give an example to illustrate what a mentor is, right? So, for example, so we are Europeans and Africans. Okay, so that means we understand football. Or what the Americans call soccer, football. So you are part of a football team. In your team, you have a coach that basically manages the team. But that's a coach. In our world, that will be your academic supervisor. But you can have a mentor that is not even in your team. That it may not even be in your country, but that has experience playing football. So let's say if I was a football player, I would choose Samuel Eto'o as my mentor, because he's no longer playing, but he has been extremely successful. He played a long time. He knows the game. So he has been where I am today. So he would mentor me, basically provide that support, not directing me in terms of my technical skills on the field, because that's what the coaching team does. But Samuel Eto'o will be telling me about opportunities that are out there, how he went through the challenges, how he overcame them. So you see, that's the difference between having a mentor who may not even be in your institution, who may be completely outside, as opposed to your academic supervisor. So that's really what a mentor is. And a mentor, you do not have to be part of a network. And in the relationship between mentor and mentee, the onus, we say this in Higher Women all the time, the onus is on the mentee to pursue the relationship, to keep up the relationship. So it's for you to find a mentor yourself. You don't have to be part of a network. If you identify somebody who has experience in your field, who has gone through the journey that you are planning on going through, or you are going through, find that person and knock on that door. Of course, there are networks out there, but you don't have to be part of a network to have a mentor.
Great. I think that's well said. And Tony and the rest will definitely know that there's no criteria. You need to develop your criteria and you look and see who can be your mentor. It's individual. So please, you should know exactly how to go about that thing called mentor-mentee. Thank you. The next question, Anonymous. I had my undergraduate studies in biology, but I have developed an interest in public and global health. How do I transit into this?
Arno? So this person has an undergraduate degree in biology, but they're interested in public health. Prof, to me, your microphone is off.
No, I was just thinking in which country. It depends in the Republic of Congo or in the French or in France. I would say it depends. Then you decide if the next diploma, if it's possible for you to register in public health. It's a public health he or she would like to do. So then, yeah, to move to this discipline at the next level, to register, if it's possible to register in that field. That would be, and to find the university where this, where she or he could be registered and move forward in that direction. I don't know if Maria or Andrea in Tübingen or in
Well,
Leiden.
yeah, so we have, I mean, I think public health is such a big area. No, if you're more focused, maybe, then you can find also more focused courses. But in Leiden, in any case, we do have a global health 10-week program that is international. And yeah, if you look again, you have to be active and see what are the opportunities. We do have this thing of global health for but yeah, it doesn't give you a certificate as such, but it's maybe exposes you to see what you really like and which area. That's all I can say, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. The feedbacks are really rich because Prof. Francis is a typical example. I have my undergraduate in biochemistry, but I realized I really didn't have opportunities. I didn't really like to sit in lab. So I thought it wise. I saw that public health was my desire. I decided to go and register for another master's in public health epidemiology. So even after the master's, I realized I needed something to challenge clinicians and doctors. So I went for another master's in sustainable development and project management. So it's about your desire and your goals. So once you get into those circles, you realize in that field, even your professors can become your mentors and your guides so that you find your path. It's about exactly what Professor Francine is trying to say. Yeah.
You can
So the
even start
next,
by seeking out the experts where you are. So where you are locally, there will be some experts. So seek them out, ask for a meeting. They're usually very busy people. So you may just say, can I just have 15 minutes of your time? So ask for a meeting and talk to and talk to them.
okay. So the next question is from Genevieve. Thank you for creating this panel discussion with female leaders in research. Some few questions I have are, what advice would you give to young women aspiring to become leaders in research? 2, are there any specific skills or qualities you believe are essential for effective leadership in research? 3, what strategies or tips can you share with us for maintaining a healthy work-life balance? 4, outside of your professional work, what are some unconventional sources of inspiration that fuel your creativity in research? Yeah, those questions are all from Genevieve. Over to the panel.
I like the last question a lot. What unconventional sources of inspiration? I'm focusing on the last question because I really think that since yesterday we have been talking about inspiring young researchers to be leaders. We've talked about specific skills, qualities. We just talked about strategies for maintaining a healthy work-life balance. But the last question I really think is interesting. We haven't discussed it. So I don't know who wants to tackle any of those questions.
Well, all I can say, I think, yeah, I mean, I like art, I like music, so I spend, I try and, that really gives me, meeting also people from another area, talking to musicians and artists is always very inspiring and just helps sometimes really to be more creative in your own work as well. So I don't know which one is the chicken and which one is the egg, but that's the way I relax and gain space for creativity, if you're asking for personal experience. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Cooking? No, there are people who love cooking and
unconventional.
Yeah, I don't know.
What did she say? Unconventional
skills,
sources of inspiration.
Sources. Yeah, that's.
I have to say exercising. Exercising helps a lot. It helps me a lot. Just taking a walk. Taking a walk when I run, but you don't have to run. Just taking a 1 hour walk, it's just you and your thoughts for 1 hour. No earphones, nothing. Just you and your thoughts for 1 hour. I like doing it in the morning because then it's done. I do have to say that. And then you have your adrenaline pumping. Like this morning, actually, I did do, I think it was 8 kilometers this morning. That's why I'm so hyper. I have the adrenaline going in my body. It helps a lot. Dr. Andrea, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that everybody has his or her own preferences, and you need to identify what you like, and you just need to deserve some time per day or per week or whatever. Use the occasion and do what you like, if it is music or sports or so. This is, I think it's kind of natural also, so it's nothing special. We are not just working, I don't know, 24 hours minus, let's say, 7 hours sleep. So of course not, at least not for long periods. So
If you're lucky. The other thing I wanted to mention, one of my uncles actually told me this: schedule your time off. You know how if you open your Outlook calendar right now, you have this meeting, this meeting, this meeting, this meeting. Next day you have this, this, this. My uncle told me, put rest. R-E-S-T. If it's a Sunday, put rest. All day Sunday. R-E-S-T, with a reminder, rest. Because even God rested when he was creating the world. Rest. Take a vacation. And vacation doesn't mean, you know how we do, us Africans. We take a vacation, we go to the village and we're working on our agriculture project. That's not a vacation. That's not a vacation. If you are in Cameroon, take a bus, go to Kribi, get a hotel, you know, for 3 days, do nothing. Leave the husband, leave the child, leave the children, do nothing. 2 days, you sleep, you eat, you drink, you sleep, you eat, you drink, you come back. 2 days later, nobody will recognize you, you're refreshed. So schedule it, put it in your calendar as an appointment, just like you put all the other appointments. Rest, very important.
If I may jump on that, I just remember what I have been doing, for many, many, many years in the lab and where I have been working is really to sleep at the office, really. But 5-10 minutes maximum. I close the door and I sleep on my table. But I really sleep 5 minutes, but then after that, I'm fresh. I go to the lab and I can work, with a lot of energy. But to have these 5 minutes really to close the door, no one sees you, but really to take these 5 minutes, not more, 10 minutes is a lot. 5, maximum 10 minutes, but really sleeping. So that, something also possible. But if you are alone in your office, otherwise it could be strange for your colleagues to see you sleeping. But, if you have the possibility to find a way to have this, to isolate yourself, that's very good. That's a tip. Okay.
So I want to mention to the panel that we are at time, but this is so interesting, and I think we still have questions. Can we do a few more? Is that okay?
I have to leave at 11:45 my time. I don't know what it's so in
Okay, so about 15 more minutes.
I have to leave then. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah. So let's take the other ones quickly. Sylvia Masawe, I think this issue of mentorship, mentoring, we should put it in some projects because I see it's still recurring. Regarding the research leader, coaching and mentoring is part of team building. Is there any possibility to get grants to pursue the master in coaching, mentoring, and leadership? Yeah, it's for the panel.
That's a difficult question. I have seen, so she wants to get a master's in coaching, leadership, or mentoring.
Yes.
I've seen, there's definitely, I've seen master's programs in leadership, but I think it's like general.
I think you need to inform yourself to be active and look. So, I mean, this is not an answer that we can, a question that we can answer per se.
Do you have another question, Leo?
Yes, the next question is, could you share the link for the WISE mentorship program mentioned? Francine, you're muted.
Say, yeah, you will do that. So,
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, I will share the link, Natalie. Okay. Yeah. Then the next question, Dr. Andrea and Francine, how do we find you on LinkedIn? Could not locate you by searching your name. Andrea and Francine.
Because that's why.
But is that right? I think you put
No.
the name and the profile comes up, no?
Yeah, I'm in LinkedIn. Also, I did not enter really information to my profile, but you should find me by name.
I will. Okay.
Okay, then the next question, I think we've answered it kind of. Sometimes you may reach 45 years without getting funds to conduct your research. Your PhD is 10 to 12 years old. However, most calls are related to age or PhD according to this call. This person is considering a senior research, though he is not. I think we've answered that already. Yes, so no need to belabor it. And then Ellie, I am a young researcher and PhD student. Last year, I have been on for 30 laureates of L'Oreal UNESCO 2024. Now I feel pressure. I feel like I don't have the right to fail. Please, I would like to know if it is normal to feel this way.
Yes, that's no, yeah, that's very because it has the ceremony. I think this award is something very important in your life. So, I mean, you feel the pressure because everyone is congratulate you and tell you you are the best. And, you know, when someone puts you here, yeah, the challenge is, yeah, not to fall. So that's the normal way. So, yeah. That's normal. This means you want to give the best of what you are doing. So you feel the pressure from outside, but I'm sure you feel also the pressure from yourself because you have got this award, and you know, the media. I'm sure you have been interviewed by the media, etc. So. Yeah, so now if you have bad notes or not good notes, if you don't reach the next level, people will be disappointed, and yourself maybe you will be disappointed. So that's the normal way. This means you need to do your best to move forward. But even if I have an advice, even you do your best, one day you will fall. That's the normal life. So this does not mean that, okay, now you are no more a good scientist, etc. That's life. Life, you cannot be, you know, on the same, you have obstacles, and I mean, that's the normal way. So you need to prepare yourself also to the negative results, to be prepared. This does not mean that you are not a very good scientist, a very good person. That's only life. So that's, I don't know, Maria, Andrea, and Sylvie, but yeah, that's what I I can say. That be sure that yeah, one day you will fall. But that's good to be prepared to that, because the day you say, oh, okay, I was prepared, so now I know I need just to be the best. And just an example, when I have got my first grant, this very prestigious one, you know, everyone was, I was, you know, the best young female African scientist, blah, 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 blah. And I was so confident of myself from that. And then I wrote another proposals and so on. And it was so poor, so bad. Of course, it was not funded, but I met one of the reviewer later, and this reviewer told me, Francine, but how can you write something so bad? And we were very disappointed. And oh, I was so shocked. I was so shocked that I realized, oh, you are not, you know, when you are good in one, for one proposal, it does not mean that everything you will do in the future is perfect. So this means you need to give your best for each work you do. So then, so I was shocked, but this gave me energy to you know, to realize that, okay, I have to jump, I have to work more, and so on. So it has been very positive, because then I realized for everything I do, I need to give the best. It's not because the previous work was perfect, not perfect, was very good, that this one will be very good. No, you need to do your best for each of the proposal, for everything I do. So that's why I say that's sometimes good to fall, because then this gives you energy to jump and go at another level. Over.
I mean,
Sylvie?
Yeah, we did discuss it yesterday. Go ahead, Prof. Maria, go ahead.
No, I'm just going, it's so beautifully put, you can't really add anything. I mean, isn't it a saying that, you know, if a tree doesn't get a lot of wind, then it will just fall down? So it's really important to fail as well and get pressurized so that you grow very strong, right? Very nice. Very true.
What I was going to say is that we talked about it yesterday in one of the modules. Failure is not a bad thing. Failure is an opportunity to learn. What we said yesterday was that you have to fail. You cannot always be successful. So like Prof. Tumi said, at least you know that you will fail. And you then you would know how to make up for it, how to correct your path. So please don't be afraid of failure. Failure is a learning opportunity. Okay, I think we have about 5 minutes before we have to end. Leo, do you have maybe just one more question?
Yes, let me just take this question and maybe join it with the other one. It's for Prof. Andrea, and I think Prof. Francine can answer that one, because the question from Tony: English is a great challenge for us to meet requirements. Like now, Tübingen University opens door for master's degree. How this network can help us to attend masters there? I mean, that Andrea and Francine is Tübingen, and I think, I don't know if that can be a place to, to help them out.
If you want to do master studies at the University of Tübingen, you need to register at the university and submit your application and your certificates, your prior certificates and so on, to register as a student. And after the master modules, you get the university certificate. So does this answer the question? I'm not 100% sure, actually. It's not my decision. It is, or not Francine's decision. It's the official procedures, and I assume they apply to all the universities in the world. You need to inform yourself on the modules that are available on University of Tübingen, and then you follow the rules to apply, and yeah, that's it. Leo?
Yes, I think good. I think we've made it. I don't know. I'll give the floor to our lead, which is Professor Sylvie, to close this session. We really appreciate. It was really interactive, and I really loved it, even though I was here. But it's rich. Thank you so much, our great ladies.
Thank you for the title of professor, but I'm not there yet. It's one of my objectives, hopefully someday, but not quite there yet. I am extremely grateful for every single one of you in the panel. Unfortunately, for those who could not join, it's unfortunate because we are talking about African health researchers, so we would have missed to learn from the experience of Dr. Marielle and Professor Veronique. So unfortunately, we missed that opportunity. But for you who did make it, thank you so much. The conversation was wonderful. I'm looking at the chat briefly, and everybody is happy with the discussions, and it took a little bit longer, but it was kind of difficult to stop because the interaction was so great. And I do have to say, because this is the wise leaders that are here in front of us, the actual idea is genuine. It's wonderful. The more we have ideas like that of putting women together and working on promoting them, propping them up to be leaders, the more ideas, the better. Thank you very much for the very enriching discussion. So I believe we are up for a break. We will still take 15 minutes. We'll come back at the top of the hour.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. Learned a lot also. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you. I also liked it very much. I learned some new things. Bye.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
That was a wonderful panel. So wonderful.
Yeah, it's really, in fact, it was superb.
Very, very rich. And for those that were with us yesterday, you see that a lot of the themes that we discussed ended up coming up.
Exactly.
Because yesterday we really talked about the fundamentals of what it is to be a leader, what it is to be a leader in Africa, what it is to be a leader as a female, what it is to be a leader as an African female. So a lot of it came up, and thank you so much for all the questions. You made it very, very interactive, which is great. Hold on one second. I have to get my clock going. so that I can respect everybody's time. So thank you for coming back. We will continue today. All right, so for this portion, I have about 136 of you that responded to the survey, and that survey was a self-assessment on how you see yourself as a leader. I have not had the time to actually analyze the data, but if we have a little bit of time after this module, because this module is the last one, if we have a little bit of time, we can just go through the actual SurveyMonkey file quickly, just so that you can kind of see how the results were shaping up. I would have liked to have a summary, but I did not get the time to do that. So right now, you will kind of, after going through that exercise, you kind of see where you are yourself as a leader. In that exercise, particularly all of the questions, the responses had to do with something you do not do well, something that you mostly do well, something that you do better than others, or something that you do very well. So depending on your answers, you can kind of position yourself as to where you are as a leader, and you would know where the gaps are and where you can improve. This module is just about giving you a few tips as to when you look at yourself and you are honest with yourself, would you yourself follow you as a leader? So the first thing, you have to be honest about your leadership style. We talked a lot about different leadership styles yesterday. We talked about the autocratic style. We talked about the collaborative style. We talked about the participative style. We talked about being a servant as a leader, the transformational leader. We talked about all that. So where do you see yourself? And just be honest. This is an exercise with just you, yourself, and yourself. Nobody else but you. Be honest with yourself. Because sometimes what happens, for example, for that particular survey, what happens is that we end up giving the answers that are socially desirable, but that's not what we want. When you are asking yourself, would self, always easy to be introspective, to try to figure out, am I really good at this? Or how can I get better at this? So as a leader, it's very easy to fall into that trap of thinking that your way is the best way. You heard Professor Ntumi talk earlier about how when she got grant, she got so confident that the next grant was really bad and she got called out. So just because you do something well one time doesn't mean that you do it well all the time. And I know we're scientists, we have our PhDs, some of us have 2, 3 PhDs, and we think we're the best since sliced bread, or the best since the internet. So we can get a big head. So we just have to bring ourselves back to earth and ask yourself, do I lead with empathy and understanding, or do I tend to command and control? Be honest. Don't answer the way that is socially desirable, meaning that this is how you want people to see you. How are you actually, for real, in real life? How do you react under pressure? Do you stay calm? Do you let the stress affect your interactions with others? Are you approachable? Or do your team members feel intimidated and distant from you? Be honest. Those are not easy questions because you want people to see you a certain way, but are you really the way you want people to see you? So, for example, this is from LinkedIn, actually. So the person says, for example, there was a time in my leadership journey when I realized I was managing out of fear of failure. I was so focused on not making mistakes that I became overly critical of my team's work. I wasn't until I received feedback from a trusted colleague that I saw how my approach was stifling creativity and innovation within my team. So would that follow me back then? Probably not. The key here is to be honest. Really be honest. Don't answer the way you want people to see you. How do you see yourself and how are you actually? Would you follow you as a leader? Evaluate your communication skills. We saw yesterday that communication is one of the keys skills that you need to master in a leadership role. So how do you communicate with your team? The way you communicate can make or break their motivation and engagement. Ask yourself, do I communicate clearly and regularly with my team? Am I open to feedback? Or do I shut down dissenting opinions? Do I listen as much as I speak? Or am I dominating in conversations? A leader who doesn't listen is a leader who will eventually be tuned out. Tuned out meaning that you will be speaking, but nobody's listening to you because you don't listen to them. Why would they listen to you? The author says, I found that some of the most profound leadership lessons come not from speaking, but from truly hearing what my team has to say. Over time, I've had to work on becoming an active listener, creating space for open dialogue, and letting my team know that their voice matters. We discussed it a bit yesterday. Actively listening. That means that you are opening your ears and listening to the message that is being sent to you. You are completely focused on what the person is saying. You're not sitting there thinking in your mind how to answer or how to defend yourself. You are listening to what the person is saying, and then you make sure you confirm. You can ask back the question. So this is what I heard you say. Is it what you said? Because I believe that some of us have been in this position where you say something, when the person repeats it back to you, it's not at all what you said. Because the person is hearing something else because of what they have going on as the background noise in their mind. So if you don't really listen to the words that are coming to you, you may not get the message as it is intended to be heard. Remember, I said yesterday that in communication, you have three elements: the person sending the message itself, and the person receiving the message. So if you're the person receiving the message, you want to make sure that you are hearing and understanding the message as the sender intends it to be understood. It doesn't go through the machine, that the computer that you have in your mind, and comes out as something else. You have to make sure that you understood the message as the sender intended it to be understood. That's part of your communication skills. So evaluate your communication skills. Then you can determine whether or not they're good or if you need to work on them, where can you get the skills? How can you strengthen your skills? Because in the end, you want to be able to follow you as a leader. You cannot ask other people to follow you as a leader if you yourself will not follow yourself as a leader. Number 3, assess your level of accountability. As leaders, we are often the ones holding others accountable. But how often do we hold ourselves accountable? It's essential to reflect on your actions and ask, do I admit when I'm wrong? Or do I make excuses for my mistakes? Do I follow through on my promises and commitments? Am I consistent in my behavior? Or do I allow mood swings and external pressures to dictate my leadership style? You have to be accountable for your own actions. You have to be accountable for your what you say and how you say it. So true accountability starts with yourself. You are the head of a team. You are asking them to follow you. Most likely, mistakes will be made. If you yourself as a leader cannot admit that you've made a mistake, most likely the team that you are leading will not be able to fess up either. And we learn that mistakes are opportunities to learn. So we're not going to hide behind our leadership and act as if we're perfect. We're not. If you can't own your mistakes, your team will struggle to take responsibility for theirs. The author wrote, I remember one instance when I made a poor decision about a project timeline. Instead of shifting the blame to my team, I owned up to it and apologized. That moment of vulnerability created a new level of trust with my team because they knew I was willing to be accountable for my actions. You're not only accountable for your own actions, you're accountable for all of your team's actions. So if you're not able to admit and own up to your accountability, your team will not be able to follow you. It starts with you and it ends with you. Remember the responsibility at the end, when all is said and done, the responsibility is the leader's responsibility. It's you as a leader that would have to answer to your hierarchy. It's you as the leader that would answer to the regulatory institutions. It's you as a leader that will have to answer to your funding bodies. It's you. So if you don't take accountability for yourself first, it will be very difficult for the team to follow you. Number 4, consider your impact on team morale. Leadership isn't just about getting results. It's about how you make people, I'm going to repeat, it's about how you make people feel in the process. Remember yesterday, I talked about my discussion with one of my supervisors in the past, who was from the US Army, very high-ranking individual in the US Army. And in the Army, they learn about focusing on the mission. But that doesn't always work because it's quite autocratic. It's not only about your results. My personal belief is that you have to put the emphasis on people, and you have to put the emphasis on the relationship that you have with the people, because they are the ones that will give you the results. The results don't come by themselves. A leader who is constantly negative or stressed will breed the same energy within the team. Ask yourself, do I inspire and motivate my team, or do I create a sense of dread and anxiety? Am I celebrating wins, both big and small, or am I only focusing on areas that need improvement? Do my team members feel valued, or do they see me as someone who only cares about the bottom line? As a leader, you are really responsible for your team's morale. You don't always have to only focus on work. It's so important to have team building events outside of work. You know, we hear about happy hour. I know not all of us are quick to go and sit at a bar and have a drink, but sometimes if that's what your team does, you may just have to go once in a while and sit with them and have a drink and exchange and talk about everything and anything. You may organize a luncheon for your team. I have gone through working with my team in my house. If we have a deadline, for example, and we had to work over the weekend, instead of going to the office, I just invite everybody to my house, have a big meal. So we work all day on a Saturday if we have a deadline. So that way they don't feel, it doesn't feel as, you don't feel the pressure because you are in a relaxed environment. You're working, you're eating, you're talking. It makes the work go forward. That's just one of the things that one of the tips for building up your team morale. The emotional climate you create as a leader has a direct impact on your team's performance. The author says, I've seen this time and time again. When leaders prioritize a team well-being, productivity skyrockets. A few years ago, I made it a priority to start each week by highlighting a team's success during our Monday meetings. It was a simple shift, but it made a huge difference in how motivated my team felt. I really cannot stress this enough. The team has to be cohesive. They have to work together and towards the objectives. The objectives that were set by the leader, of course, in collaboration with the team. You cannot only focus on work. You have to think of the people, how they're feeling. I used to celebrate birthdays and actually take money out of my own pocket. Every time there was a birthday, I would buy a 5,000 franc cake, something as simple as that, a cake, and I'll bring it to our weekly meeting for the person or the people who had a birthday during that week. Something easy. And I do have to say that when I set up my budget, I put team building in my budget. I do put team building in my budget because it's necessary. We can't just think of salaries, equipment. We also have to think of team building. So that is actually included in my budget. It may be a retreat where we go out of town for 3-4 days where we work. That does help. It helps a lot with team building and team morale. Number 5, examine your ability to adapt and grow. You are the leader. You are also called to adapt and grow because stuff happens. Things might go wrong. Change happens. That's just how it is. That's reality. That's human nature. How do you adapt and how do you grow? The best leaders are the ones who are constantly evolving. The world around us is changing rapidly, and if we are stuck in our ways, we become obsolete. So ask yourself, am I open to learning new things, or am I resistant to change? Do I seek out opportunities for growth, both personally and professionally? How well do I adapt to new challenges, technologies, or team dynamics. Leadership is definitely not static. It's dynamic. Just because something worked 5 years ago doesn't mean it will work today. The author says, I've had to adapt my leadership journey as new strengths in leadership emerged. For example, during the shift to remote work, I had to completely rethink how I engaged my team. I embraced new tools, increased communication touch points, and even shifted some of my leadership philosophies to accommodate the needs of a virtual team. Growth is essential for survival as a leader. You have to be able to adapt to whatever comes your way. It can be that, for example, you wrote a proposal, and this is so typical. I cannot say it enough. This is usually the timeline for a proposal. So you see a call for a proposal. They say that you have 2 months to write the proposal. So you start writing. By the time you submit and you do your research, you put together your budget, you have in there the equipment that you need and other resources that you need to do a particular task. 2 months goes by after you have done your research, you submit your proposal. Your proposal goes through many rounds of review. By the time you hear back, it might be 3 or 4 months later. So now you are about more than 6 months from when you got the information to put inside your proposal. They get back to you with questions. By the time you negotiate the questions and you address them with the funder, it's another 2-3 months. So now you are about 9 months after you found the information of what goes into your proposal. So 9 to 12 months later, that's when you get the letter, congratulations, you've been awarded. It's a year, 12 months after you have gotten the information that you put inside your proposal. By the time you renegotiate your contract, by the time you go through your university processes for receiving the money, it might be another 3 to 4 months. So now you are a year and 3 months, a year or 4 months, that's what, 16 months after you've gotten the information that you put in your proposal. By the time you start working, one of the equipment that you put in your proposal is no longer available on the market at all. And it's a key equipment. It could be a laboratory equipment that was really necessary for the laboratory results that are endpoints in your study. The endpoints are directly related to the objective of your study. You have to be able to adapt because changes just happen. They happen all the time. Actually, some people even put in place a change management system, which basically means that you track all the changes that happen throughout your project. You track them, you document them. This is what happened. This is how we dealt with it. This is how it's going. And you track them in an Excel table or some type of a document because change will happen and you have to be able to adapt. You might lose a very key personnel, team member in your group. And that has happened to me where I had a project, the project started very well, and one of the nurses passed away suddenly. She went into the hospital on a Friday. On Monday, I received word that she passed away. I had to adapt because the timeline that I committed to the funders does not wait. You have to adapt quickly. So as a leader, look at yourself honestly. How is your ability to adapt and grow? Do you have skills? Do you have tools that allows you to adapt quickly? Number 6, Seek external feedback. This exercise in self-reflection cannot be done in isolation. Often our blind spots are the things we cannot see ourselves. That's why seeking feedback from others is so important. You might be surprised by what your team thinks about your leadership style versus what you perceive. So you might have your own perception. Of course, I'm a great leader. Of course, I'm very open to my team. Of course, I'm approachable. Of course, I take care of my team. But once you ask them, it might be different. And you had to be open to that. You had to be able to be vulnerable enough to learn. Some ways to gather feedback include an anonymous survey to gauge how your team feels about your leadership, one-on-one meetings where you encourage your team to be honest and open, peer feedback from other leaders or colleagues you trust. There is something called a 360 assessment, I believe. This, we used to use it when I was a university student, where we will assess the instructor as a teacher. So if you can look it up, 360 survey, and you give it to your team just to see how they perceive you as opposed to how you perceive yourself. The author says, I always say feedback is a gift, and the more results, the more you seek it out, the better you'll understand how to grow as a leader. I remember receiving feedback that I wasn't as approachable as I thought I was. That was eye-opening and gave me a clear direction on what I needed to work on. Really be open to feedback. Another example in my experience is, in some cases, I have found that different individuals perceive me very differently. So one person might say, and they would honestly think that, yes, you're approachable, maybe for some reason, that person and I have some type of affinity. Maybe they run just like I run. I do have marathons. So that person, maybe we have a different rapport outside of work. So that person will perceive me one way, and somebody else will perceive me completely differently because they don't know me as well. So you have to really be open to feedback. And there's really, when we're talking about feedback, there's no right or wrong answer. There is no right or wrong answer. It's basically about how people see you. Is their own opinion, and you have to be able to accept it and have an open heart to say thank you so much for the feedback, because that is their experience of you. Whether or not you agree is how they experienced you. Be open, listen, and see how you can be better. Number 7, so what are the actions that you can actually take to become the leader that you yourself will follow? Now that you've done the hard work of self-reflection, it's time to take action. No leader is perfect, but we can all strive to become better. So what you can do next? What can you do next to ensure you're the type of leader others would gladly follow? Here are some immediate action steps. Set your personal leadership goals. You yourself. What are your personal leadership goals? Pick one area where you feel you need improvement and set measurable goals to work on it. For example, and I'm going to be vulnerable here. one of my weaknesses is that I really tend to be emotional. Like I said yesterday, I tend to be emotional, and this is just something that is in my personality. I can go from 0 to 100 in less than a second, really quickly. But as a leader, that is not good. That is not good at all. It is not allowed for me to be screaming at my team members. It is not allowed. There is no circumstance or situation that would justify me expressing anger, no matter how much pressure I'm in. Even if the house is burning, the lab is burning, I do not have the right to start getting angry and tell people, get out. I said, get out. Don't you see the house is burning? I said, there is no circumstance. I can still be calm and take care of my team, even in a crisis. So that, for me, was one of the things that I continually work on. It's a continual process. So one specific goal that I set myself was to do exercises that will help me to control my emotions. And it has to be measurable. So I can say, maybe I will learn 5 exercises to control my emotions within 1 month. And once my emotions are challenged and that I feel myself rising, I will practice those exercises and seek feedback. Did I do better? Did I control my emotions better? I can seek feedback from my team. So that's one example of setting your personal leadership goals. So you yourself, you have to just pick an area, or even many areas that you need to improve and set your own goals. Remember that the goals have to be measurable. The next action is prioritize self-care. Ooh, we just talked about that. A leader who is burnt out can't effectively lead others. Take care of yourself so you can show up as your best self for your team. We just talked about that with the panel. I mentioned that you have to schedule your rest, schedule it. Find a method to center yourself, whether it's prayer, whether it's meditation, sports, anything, talking to a therapist, talking to clergy, talking to family members. I don't know if that helps. But if you have a family member that you actually trust, that can help you in taking care of yourself, taking care of your own mind, you have to see what works for you. I cannot stress this enough. Prioritize. That's the key. Prioritize self-care. That means that you make it a priority. You schedule it. Just like you schedule your time for this workshop, you schedule the time you take your child to football practice. You schedule the time you go to dinner with your mother. You schedule the time you look at your, you meet with the students that you are supervising. Schedule the time to take care of yourself. I am very serious. I am one of those people who can run away from the house maybe every 6 months. Just from Friday to Sunday, you will not see me. I am not even taking the time to work. I can check into a hotel, stay there from Friday. I go there on Friday evening, leave on Sunday afternoon. All I do is just sleep, eat, drink, sleep, eat, drink, sleep, eat, drink. If I have to meditate, I meditate. If I pray, I pray. It when I come out of there, I am refreshed. It can be anything. This works for me particularly. I take vacations, real vacation. Like I mentioned earlier, us Africans, we know our vacation. We take a vacation, we go to the village, and we're taking care of our tomato field. That's not a vacation. Even if, let's say, if you have 1 month vacation, 4 weeks, you can take 3 weeks. You go to the village, you take care of your family, you take care of everything else. You work on the house because maybe there's a fence that was broken in your house, and this is a time where you actually have time to fix the fence. All that 3 weeks. The other 1 week is just to relax. Just to relax. And you can even turn off the phone, get off the grid, turn off the phone, turn off the computer, relax, prioritize self-care. I have seen so many of my colleagues, brilliant scientists, but they just burnt out because we work in a very high pressure environment. And we talked about it yesterday, and we talked about it today in our panel. You are under pressure. Produce. Yes, but if you burn out, who's going to produce? You will not be able to produce anything. So you have to prioritize your self-care. Invest in leadership development, whether it's reading books, attending workshops such as this one, seeking out a mentor, continually invest in your growth as a leader. I have to give a plug to LinkedIn. I'm saying that because actually it's only been in the past year that I have been using LinkedIn fully. Before that, I had no idea how much LinkedIn could do. There's so much on LinkedIn. There are courses, you grow your network. And what is networking? Networking is if you link up to one person and that person has 4 other links, now you have 5 links. If those 5 links have 5 links each, now you have, is it 25 or 30 links? That's networking. And that's what LinkedIn will do. And you, for those of you who use Facebook or TikTok, LinkedIn is exactly the same thing as Facebook, but completely professional. You know how you can spend hours and hours scrolling? Yes, I'm guilty. Scrolling on Facebook for things that don't even teach you anything. You see animals getting caught or something. Things that don't teach you much. A child who is dancing. Okay, that's fine. That's funny. That's entertainment. There's a time for that. But on LinkedIn, it's the same exact thing as Facebook, but for professionals. So you have professional opportunities. People post, like this particular article was on LinkedIn. People post their own experiences, other opportunities for development. There's so much on LinkedIn. So leave Facebook maybe for one day. Do what you do on Facebook, do it on LinkedIn, and you will see how much you will gain. So in conclusion, would you follow you as a leader? This is the questions you had to ask yourself regularly. It's not about perfection, but it's about progress, meaning that you have to evolve, make progress. As leaders, we have a responsibility to lead by example and create an environment where people feel empowered, valued, and motivated. Without your team, your work cannot be completed. So I will take questions. Leo, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm there.
Thank you. Please make sure you put your questions on the, please make sure you put your questions on the Q&A panel. Don't put them on the chat because they get lost there. Go ahead, Leo.
Yes, so I'm waiting for the questions. I've not seen any question on the Q&A for now.
And please Leah, I just want to say something. Please ask questions that are pertinent first to this module. We have enough time to go back and answer other questions. So please, Q&A, ask questions that are pertinent to would you follow you as a leader. We are waiting for questions. There's 155 of us online. Don't make me ask you a question. Because I can do that.
Hi, everyone. Very
Hello.
good afternoon. My name is Sabari Ibiri. I'm speaking from Nigeria. So I was just going to raise an issue, especially with this self-reflection session, where we spoke about empathy and understanding. And for most young researchers, it's usually very easy to learn from, either your supervisor or your team lead or your research lead. And personally, I have observed that most leads are result focused. So everything that matters to them is the result, meeting the timelines, ensuring you submit, let's say, manuscripts and all of that as planned. Sometimes they are not really concerned about some challenges you may be facing that may really impact on your delivery of those materials and resources as the case may be. I would want you to speak to this on two prongs. One is, speaking to the research leaders on how to better adapt and then change their perspective, and then to the young researchers on how to handle scenarios like that when they play out. Thank you, and over.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. It's a very good question. So unfortunately, like I said, you have good leaders, you have bad leaders. Hopefully those that are not so good can learn and get better. So what I would do personally, when I'm faced with a leader that is not very open to listen, once I get instructions, I make sure that I go back and say, okay, so you asked me to do this, correct? Yes. By this time, yes. And then you asked me to do this, correct? Yes. By this time, yes. But you asked me to do this, which is in conflict in terms of the schedule. So please clarify and give me the priorities. What do I do first? Then what do I do? Then what do I do? So basically, you're clarifying the assignment. Once it is clear and you have both an agreement, then you do your part. You do your part. And of course, they can also always come back and say, I made a mistake. That timeline was pushed. So now I know you were working on XYZ, but now you have to turn around and work on ABC. And then you said, okay, so I had to work on ABC, and you say by this timeline. But just remember that in order for me to accomplish ABC, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. And within the timeline that you gave, if I want to be thorough about it, it's not really possible. So now, how can we still meet the deadlines, but maybe reduce the scope of what we are meant to do? So figure out a way to negotiate and just get a clear understanding and get to an agreement. But yesterday we talked about managing up. Just like the leader is managing down to the team, us as team members, we are also responsible for managing up. So that's one of the ways of managing up. If they come to you, the instructions are not clear, clarify. If they come to you, the priorities are, there's no priorities, they just gave you a whole bunch of things to do, ask for priorities. What do I do first, then what? If they come to you and change priorities and you yourself feel that you cannot adequately do the work that they asked within the timeline that they gave you, ask for a reduced scope and what still makes sense. I said it yesterday, I will say it again today. Remember that you have agency. You have agency. That means that you are your own agent. You need to speak out for yourself. You're not a victim. Next question, Leo.
The next person with the hand raised is with Okechi saying, how can we manage difficult team members and not get very emotional?
That's a very good question, because some people will push your buttons. They will push your buttons. Leo knows.
I know.
Some people will really, really push your button. But we are professionals. So like I said, emotions, high uncontrolled emotions like anger, do not have room in our world. You cannot get angry. Just tell yourself you are forbidden. You are forbidden to get angry. And as women, and I'm sorry I have to say this, you cannot cry. You cannot cry. This is a professional environment. You don't cry at work. Go lock yourself in the bathroom, cry there, but don't go cry in front of your team. There are ways to control your emotions. You can look it up. Like I said, me, if I see, and I'm a very, very impulsive person. If I see that you know how your blood starts boiling and you just get like angry? If I see that, I said, okay, will you excuse me? I just need 5 minutes. I leave the room. And it actually leaves the other person to also calm down. And another thing that I do, other than yesterday, I talked about counting from 10 backwards if I cannot leave the room. So if, for example, I'm in the room with the founders, I cannot just say, oh, I'm getting angry, I'm going to leave the room. I have to stay in the room. So what I do, I center myself, I close my eyes, and I count very slowly from 10 backwards. That automatically, physiologically, regulates your heart rate. Like your heart rate that was going to boom, 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 boom. When you go 10, 9, 8, 7, your heart rate will slowly come down. That's another thing. And the other thing that I do, if somebody comes to me and they're yelling, Dr. Kwedi, I can't believe this will happen. Can you believe that this person said such and such and so? I just can't believe it. This is, I just want to kill somebody, blah, blah, blah. I would respond very calmly. Just calm yourself down. Take a minute. Calm yourself down. And tell me what happened. So my tone automatically will also make their tone to be calm. So there are different tips like that. Don't think that you can get away from difficult people. It's impossible. We work with all types of people. We work with all types of people. And remember, you don't know what that person is going through. You don't know what that person is going through. You don't know what happened at home. You don't know what happened to them on their way to work. You don't know with what type of attitude they came into work. So, and you don't even know, it could be a difficult person. This is one particular example. this is a long time ago. I was working with this older gentleman. He was close to retirement, very close to retirement. I think he had like a year or two before retirement. And he did not feel that he was ready to retire in terms of resources, that he did not have enough resources to retire. So he was highly stressed all the time and stressing everybody in the team. But had I not taken the time to sit down with him, I would never have known that the problem is that he has a year or two before retirement and he's under extreme pressure. So you don't know, I would have just said, oh, this old man, he's grumpy, he's difficult. You don't know where the people are coming from. You don't know what their lives are. You don't know why they're behaving. If as a leader, you can take the time to know, you can take the time to find out and maybe to see how you can relieve the pressure or maybe provide them with some resources that he can use to relieve the pressure. But as a leader, you have to control your emotions and you have to be open to know that everybody's different. Everybody is different. Not everybody will react the same way as you. And if you cannot get emotional, and if somebody else comes to you emotional, you have to be able to control the emotions, get the emotions down before you can actually deal with the conflict. There's no way of dealing with the conflict when the emotions are going all over the place. Do you have another question, Leo?
Yes, I have another question. Yeah, from Sylvia. As a new growing team leader in research, I would like to get mentored by such great team as African leaders. Is that possible? Thank you.
I feel like this question has been asked so much since yesterday. So we talked about the different networking networks, networking itself. Find those that you see as a role model in your field, reach out and talk to them. Remember, everybody's busy. So when you send a message, just say, please, I just need 15 minutes of your time. Don't ask, can I come and see you? Just 15 minutes of your time. I think people are able to give 15 minutes. Sometimes even, this is when I was younger at the university, I would wait for them outside of the office. And then when they're walking to their car, that's when I'll be like, oh, Prof, do you have a few minutes? I would just like to talk to you for a few minutes. So I will basically just take the time that they're going from their office to the car. And if I'm able to at least grab their attention, then maybe they can give me 15 minutes in the days to come. But remember that I think we talked about networking, and breaking into networks. And that is extremely important. I don't even see how you can survive as a researcher these days if you're not part of a network. That is extremely important. But when you're thinking of mentors, the mentors don't have to be part of your network. And by the way, the mentors don't even have to be scientists some of the time. It can just be somebody who's successful that you know that you can learn from. And a mentor, of course, has to agree to mentor you, but it is you as a mentee that has to seek them out. With the Higher Women Consortium, we have a very structured mentorship scheme. It's very structured. You you are assigned a mentor, and as a mentee, you have to write a report once a year. And in that report, you are required to have reached out to your mentee, to your mentor 4 times during that year, 4 times. So that one is very structured. But basically it's for you. The onus is for you, the person who wants to be mentored, to reach out to mentors and see who would agree to maybe spend an hour with you every 3 months. At the same time, you also don't want to harass them. And please keep to your word. One of my mentees, my new mentees this year, I think it was in September that she was assigned to me. She reached out to me and I told her, I'm so busy right now because I was in the crunch time. But reach out to me a month from now. You know, that woman just reached out. This was in September. I was expecting her to reach out to me in October. She just reached out to me last week in January. At the same time, you want to be taken seriously. So if you don't keep to your word, to me, I don't take you seriously. I don't want to waste my time. I really do not. Another question? Is
Yes,
it a hand that's up?
Yes, there's another question. I think, yeah, I think a mentor, I don't know if I'm right, the way I look at it, normally she has to get that connection with you like a friend. She needs to steal the opportunity to make you a friend. And from there, she will gain what she wants, because it's not just about trying to just come in and go out and disappear. I mean, there's a way to try to build that platform so that we can exchange and in a profitable way. Because I believe you yourself will profit from her own experience, her view about life, and it will shape the way you also see things. Yeah. So I think the next question is from Edith.
Wait, Leo, can I just say something to that? So I will say friends in quotes.
Yeah.
I would say friends in quotes. Earlier today, I gave the example of me being a football player and having Samuel Eto'o as a mentor, because he's like la crème de la crème of football players. And as a friend, yes, and not so much in the you don't need to get mentored so much in the technical aspects, because you have your colleagues, you have your professional network for that. But as a mentor, you really need a very thorough, in higher women we say holistic type of mentoring. I could ask my mentor, one of the questions that was asked today, for example, how do you strike work-life balance? For example, one of my mentees reached out to me one time. She was going to a conference. She was a new mother. I think the child was something like 4 months old, and she had to go to a conference for 4 or 5 days. So she had to leave the baby, and she couldn't make a decision. A new mother is very extremely difficult to pull yourself away from your newborn that is still suckling. So then I had to tell her about pumping the milk so that the baby will still have the breast milk, things that she didn't even know about. She did not even know that there are machines. They sell these machines here in Cameroon. Even they sell the machines where you pump your milk and you leave it for the baby. She had no idea. So the mentoring is not always, and it really should not be. This is the friend that Leo was talking about. It really should not be just about your professional, your career development. It has to be wholesome. Go ahead, Leo.
Yes. So I think I see we have about 4 participants with their hands raised. If anyone can unmute their mic and ask their question, that we will appreciate.
Don't be shy. I don't bite. I don't bite. Don't be shy. Hello.
Yeah, thank you so much. In a case whereby the team members are not free to give you the genuine feedback about how they perceive you, what can you do in such a case?
Okay, so you as a leader, you want feedback, but they don't feel like that they're free. In the module that we just went through, they talked about anonymous. They can give you feedback anonymously. I don't know if any of you have used Monkey Survey. Is it monkey survey or survey monkey? I always confuse it. You can actually set up your questions and send them the link, and they can answer anonymously. You will never know who said what, but all you will know is what they said. That's one way of doing an anonymous assessment and feedback. Or you can even ask them to write it down or type it, because even writing down, sometimes you can tell the handwritings, but type it. Have you seen those suggestion boxes? You can have a suggestion box. Yeah, where somebody can just ask a question, say something, drop it in the suggestions box anonymously. That's one way to make them comfortable in giving you feedback. Yes, Ibrahim? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, thanks. Good morning. I'm really sorry because you gave me the floor recently, and I have many noise around me, so why I didn't.
I can actually hear you well. I can hear you well.
All right, thanks a lot. Thank you so much. And I learned too much. I learned too much, and I have not any question, but I thank you so much for your kind presentation, for your different presentations. I learned too much, and I continue to learn. I am a young researcher. I am a student from Faculty of Science, University of Yaoundé. So I'm really happy, and I learned too much, and I continue to learn. Thank you so much.
So I will ask you a question then, Ibrahim, since you don't have a question for me. How do you see yourself as a leader? Did you take the assessment online?
Yes, can you repeat that again?
Did you say yes?
I didn't get you. I didn't get your question. Please.
I said I will ask you a question. How do you see yourself as a leader? Would you follow you?
Yes, yes, I can say that I have some qualifications of leader because I am responsible for research advisors. I'm always punctual, I am regular, and I am disciplined, I am respected. So I can say that I have some qualifications.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit. Sorry, you're breaking up. I don't know if you can move, maybe.
Yeah,
No,
Ibrahim, we can't get
you're
you.
breaking up. Maybe you can come back, because but I think and thank you so much for everything that you said. And I think that I heard a little bit of what you said. You said that you're a young researcher, and then you see that you have some capacity for leadership, and that you're learning from your supervisor. That I could gather that. Thank you so much for that. Anybody else that wants to open the microphone?
Thank you.
Josephine, are you coming back, or is it from an old?
No, what I was saying was, what if the suggestion box are there and not being used? And can you send the link to somebody else to send to the team members so that you can get joint feedback?
Of course, yes. I think we might have a little bit of time, and I can introduce the audience to SurveyMonkey in case you haven't used it. It's really not difficult, and it's free. It's free up to a certain number of surveys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so if nobody is reacting from the team, I will go back to our Q&A. I think Edith said she's from University of Buea, Cameroon. I would like to ask if there is a standard for self-assessment, since self-assessment can sometimes be very subjective. This is as far as would you follow you is concerned.
The internet is a wealth of information. The survey that I put on the on SurveyMonkey, so many of you have completed it. I found it online. I just adapted it. I adapted it to this particular workshop in this particular context. So there's if you do research, you can do research for 360 assessments. And then you adapt it for yourself when what will work in your context.
Yes, so I also like to add that please, if you have, you should make time and take the PDS on the Global Health Network. The Professional Development Scheme, it's really a good machine to help you know yourself. Yeah. Okay, the next is from Abebu. Hello, I am Abebu. We all have personal and cultural values that we have to consider while we lead our team and may influence our decision making. How can we align our personal value with the leadership principles we aspire to embody in our roles?
This is so tricky. This is very tricky. But remember yesterday we talked about being open, being receptive, being inclusive. We talked about being inclusive. So you will have your own personal values that can be very different from your team's value. Yesterday, I gave the example of having a driver who is a Muslim, and he just had to stop during the day for his prayers. I am a Christian, Protestant. That is not something that I do, but I cannot, in the professional arena, impose my way to him. That is something, his culture, it's something that is extremely important to him, and I have to respect that. The prayer it wasn't long. It was usually maybe 5 minutes. We could be driving because we used to work in remote areas. We could be driving, and sometimes he was also very sensitive. So he would plan his prayers according to breaks or something like that. But if it was impossible, he would tell me, Madam, if we can just stop for 5 minutes, I need to pray. The 5 minutes will not kill me. The 5 minutes will not kill me. I had to accept and be inclusive of him. So it's something that you have to do. Remember that your team needs to trust you. In order for them to trust you, you have to trust them. They need to respect you. In order for them to respect you, you have to respect them. That's the basis. So sometimes it may even be something that you do not agree with, but we are in a professional arena. This is not your family. This is not your village. This is for work. What brings us together? Research. What are you working for? We're working for particular research objectives. We are accountable for our results. We are accountable to ourselves. We are accountable to our institutions. We are accountable to our communities. We are accountable to our governments. We are accountable to our funders. We are accountable to the global community as a whole. This is what brings us together. So you cannot just be what's the word? Just focus, be blind to other ways that people live their lives. You might live your life a certain way. They might live their life a different way. But when you are at work, the objective is to get the work done. That you have to be inclusive. You have to be inclusive. No matter what your personal values are, you have to be inclusive.
Great. So let me take this question before we go back to the new person who raised up the hand, Gibrimalk. It's from Godwin. First and foremost, can you follow yourself?
Is that a question or is that a question for himself or a question for me?
I
Or
think
maybe
it's a
for you,
question-
Leo.
No.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hear you.
Thank you very much for the nice presentation starting from yesterday. I am Gabra Amlak. You can call me Gigi from Tigray, Ethiopia.
Hello, Gigi.
Gigi, yeah. So I'm very delighted, honored to participate with the timely and very important title that we have provides us. So I'd have some concern or question. In Africa, it is well known that there is the gap in health leadership in health research because of the cause is structural and social factors. So to solve this, we have been trying to use different quality improvement tools for leadership, but there is domestic funding problem. So that having this in our mind, how can we create best health research leaders in Africa? I thank you.
Yes, it's definitely an issue. The gap is there, and we need to work to close that gap. And it's really at every level. It's at every level. The fact that we have, how many people do we have now? 148 people on this, 149 now, on this workshop is already very telling. So one of the things that we have been discussing is gaining those skills, leadership skills, actively seek out the opportunities. I don't remember who said this. If you want to see change, no, be the change you want to see. Who is that? Gandhi, maybe? I think it was Gandhi. Martin Luther King? I can't remember. Be the change you want to see. So it's also very fun. It's always very funny to me when you see, you know, a group of scientists, especially in these international conferences, they'll be discussing, oh, we have this problem. Oh, we have that problem. Oh, we have this problem. Yes, what are you doing? You yourself, what are you doing to make the change? First, be the change you want to see. Second, I know that we cannot all be advocates, but there are people who do advocacy. But if there is any way that you can be involved with advocacy, you may not be able to be an advocate yourself or an expert in advocacy. But if there's any way to be involved in advocacy, such as here in Cameroon, for example, the Ministry of Health organizes many open house. Attend, be a voice, speak something. Don't just be passive. Do something that is active. But what we definitely need to close that gap, for me, the key is to get our governments to prioritize health research. As much funding that they put on defense, even if they just put 10% of it for health, that goes a long way. That goes a long way. Thank you so much for your question.
Yes.
Shall I add one, please?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for the for your response. So the other point that I want to raise is that in Africa, there are frequent wars and conflicts. So the war and conflict is affecting the leaders, health leaders, or public health and clinical health leaders. So these wars are, as you know, they are not domestically initiated, but they are initiated from the abroad. So that having these recurrent conflicts in Africa, can we maintain in short time the best health leader in Africa?
Oh, wow. I want to say that's above my pay grade. Basically meaning that I really don't know how to address this. Leo, help, anybody? Because there are things that you cannot control. There are
Yeah.
things that you can absolutely not control, and there's no point trying to control them. So if there is war or political unrest, if there's any possible way to keep doing your work, then you keep doing it, or maybe you do it somewhere else. But things like wars or political unrest, or even disasters. I mean, look at what happened with the COVID pandemic. Who knew? Who knew
Yeah.
that this world would come to a halt? And I mean, like, stopped. Everything stopped. Transportation stopped. Communication stopped. Health, everything just stopped. In all my over 50 years in this life, I could never even fathom that that will be possible. Where this world will know it will come to its knees. And that happened. But we do have to adapt, and we have to do our part, our own part. I don't know if anybody wants to add to that.
Yeah, I think normally we can't really do as much as you said. Once it comes to politics, it's a different ball game. We can't get involved. We are not politicians. We are just researchers trying to do our own small contribution. And if you are opportune to be connected, linked to one of the politicians, you can chip in your own small contribution. I mean, it may help, it may not help, but just say what you can say, and then you proceed with your activity. I don't know, there's no magic we can perform at this level.
Okay, so Leo, I propose that we take, I see there's one more question in the Q&A. I don't know if there's anybody else that
Yeah,
raised.
there's one question. There's a question from Ayuk Eyong. From University of Boya. You mentioned the fact of being vulnerable to your team members. Will they not take advantage of your vulnerability?
You don't let them. You don't let them take advantage. But I think that the risk of being taken advantage of is not as high as the desire to be approachable. So I personally would take the risk. And I am one of those people that is very open. I am an open book. If I don't have a deadline, my door is open all the time. And if I do have a deadline, I will close my door and I will put a message on my door that I need to focus and concentrate on what I'm doing. You can either send me a text message, a WhatsApp message, or an email. But other than those times when I really need to concentrate, my door is open. And I would rather take the risk of being taken advantage of. And what exactly would they do to take advantage? When we say that we want to be vulnerable, that doesn't mean that you will play out your whole life and talk about talk about things that are very personal to you. That's not what we're talking about. Remember that we still have to stay professional. We are colleagues. We are not friends. I do have friends that are my colleagues, definitely. But as a team leader, you do have to strike that balance where you have to be open, vulnerable, approachable, but at the same time, you cannot be that personable. I have to give an example here, and it has nothing to do with science, actually. Once I hired a lady to come into my house and work as a helper. Just as I am open with my team members, that's how I am open with the house help at home. So I went to the bakery, boulangerie, and I bought all these bakery goods. I put them on the table. And this lady left her work that she was doing. She was doing some type of domestic work, which is what she's in my house for. She pulled the chair and sat. She pulled the chair and sat down and just started eating the bakeries. So in that particular example, she overstepped the boundaries. Overstepped. Yes, I am vulnerable. Yes, I'm approachable. But lady, you are here to do housework. If she had at least told me, ma'am, after my housework, can I have a pastry? Yes, of course you can have a pastry. But for her to pull the chair, sit, start eating the pastries, she overstepped. She overstepped. So you have to be, and in that case, I told her, I said, you can have a pastry, but first, can you finish what you were doing? Once you finish, then I'll be more than happy to give you some. So you see how you can, even if they end up taking advantage, you still have to reframe and put everything in its place. Okay, so Leo, I see one question in the chat. I don't know how many more questions, but I do want to finish what we have now in terms of question. I don't know if anybody has their hands up, because I also want to open the question to anything that we have been talking about since yesterday.
I have some questions on the Q&A.
Okay.
Yes, I don't know. Anyway, from Godwin is the second part. How do you manage laggers in the team? Thank you. And then Annex also said, what can I do if some mentee don't follow your instructions and are not motivated? Do I leave them and continue with those who are motivated? So those are the two questions I think we can.
Okay. All right. So Godwin, first, would that follow me as a leader? Yes. I have invested a lot of time in developing leadership skills. And I still have a lot to learn. I really learn every day. I really learn every day. When I see somebody like Professor Toomey, she is such a role model for me with everything that she has achieved and the recognition that she has gotten internationally. So I definitely have, I'm inspired by people like her. And especially when you think of what she has done in a country such as the Republic of Congo, that is French speaking. At least us in Cameroon, we have both English and French. But in the Republic of Congo, it's completely French speaking. And what she has achieved and what she has done, since I met her in 2009, the number of researchers that she has propped up and pulled up with her is astonishing all over Africa. So she definitely inspires me and continue to be inspired. Now, in terms of laggards, remember yesterday I said, and I say today, your team is only as good as your weakest link. There is what we call the 80-20 rule, that you spend about 80% of your time to work on that 20% that would actually give you results. So you cannot work on everybody, but if you don't focus on those that are weak, you're only making your team weak. Your team is as strong as your weakest link. So you have to make those that are weak stronger so that your team can be stronger. It could be that you set up a professional development plan for them. You can set up a performance development plan for them. There's something that is called, what is it? Performance improvement, PIP, yes. Performance improvement plan. You can come up with one for each individual that is not performing well. And I particularly don't see a performance improvement plan as punishment, because sometimes people will see it as punishment. Oh, I'm not doing well, so they put me on punishment. No, it's a tool to help yourself do better. And I do want to address Agnes's question on your mentees, if you have weak mentees. Remember, I will always make the difference. Mentor is one thing, it's personal. Supervisor is professional. As a supervisor, I am professionally bound to make sure that my team is propped up. As a mentor, I have no binding, none. So if a mentor is not pulling him or herself up, seriously, I don't know if I have enough time. I don't know if I have enough time to deal with people who are not serious in terms of mentoring, which is very different than in my professional world. In my professional world, I am bound, legally bound, professionally bound. I have obligations to make that person better. But as a mentor, sorry, I will work with those who want to work. Go ahead, Leo. And please remember, we have about 30 minutes, so you can ask any questions in terms of leadership. It doesn't have to do with, would you follow you as a leader?
Okay, from Abebu, one of the key points is inclusiveness, which varies significantly between African and Western cultural contexts. How can we take these differences into account?
Okay. There are differences for sure. There are differences for sure. But I think that since we are talking about research, right? That's why we're here. That's why we're here. As researchers, we have objectives. And the objectives don't have much to do with the cultural context in terms of looking at it in a personal way. In a personal way, we cannot bring our own personal context into our workplace. And I will say something, please, the Global Health Network, I hope I'm not overstepping. CANTAM, I hope I'm not overstepping. The organizers, I hope I'm not overstepping. There's one particular issue that is coming to mind for me when we're talking about differences in context in terms of Western culture and African culture. I'm going to give one example. With the Higher Women Consortium, we were working with RDRC Canada, and we opened up a PhD program. It was extremely competitive, extremely competitive. I think we had over 300 applications and we could only take seven women. Extremely competitive. So one of the women that was selected out of the 7, she was a woman here from Cameroon, from a very, very, very traditionalist culture, extremely traditional culture, I don't even know how she got, because she was an MD, so she was able to get her MD and she wanted to get her PhD. She started the PhD program, it was about 3 years, but before the first year ended, she just could not keep up. She wasn't doing the work, she wasn't doing the assignments, she wasn't doing them on time. Sometimes she would disappear for weeks and months. So in this particular situation, she came, we just couldn't understand. And to me, I was very astonished because I said, how can you have an opportunity such as this one? A paid, fully paid PhD, fully paid PhD, where 300 women were competing, and you were one of 7. How can you have an opportunity such as this one and waste it? So thank God, IDRC Canada was actually willing to sit and listen. They did not just kick her out of the program. They said, what is going on? It turns out that the PhD program required her to travel to Nkah. And her husband, she came from a very traditionalist, polygamous type of environment, a polygamous marriage. And her husband did not agree at all with her traveling, at all. So she ended up losing motivation since she couldn't make it to the in-person sessions. So in some type of a way, we had to figure out how to work with her. And thank God, these days there are tools where she couldn't be there in person, but she could be on Zoom all day with her computer, and she could still follow the program. So yes, our context is different. And sometimes it's impossible to make it work. But if there's any way to make it work, we really should make it work. Because in the end, what are we here for? Research. What are we here for? To serve our communities, to produce results. That's what we're here for. I'm not interested to know how people live their lives in their bedroom. That's none of my business. I'm not interested really to know how they live their lives in their home. That's really none of my business. But if that ends up interfering with the goals and objectives, then let's figure it out. And there's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Always. Thank you. I think George from University of Yaoundé, George Michel, I think this question has been answered already. George wants to know, despite the fact that it's obvious that good leadership would bring out the best in the team, what do you do if a member is not able to meet expectations? I think
yeah, we have that with it, but it doesn't bother me because it doesn't bother me to come back to it because it's very key. It's very key. Me as a leader, if I have a team member that doesn't meet the expectation, it's my failure. It's my failure as a leader. I look at it as my failure. I had to look at the team member. Did I not provide them with the necessary tools, environment that they need to perform well? If one of my team members does not perform well, for me, it's my failure. So it's for me to fix it. If it's a problem of motivation, the person actually has to want to be there. Because sometimes you can have team members that are just there because maybe their father told them to, to take that job, but internally they want to play music somewhere or something. Do they want to be there? Do they want to do well? If they want to be there and they want to do well, it's my responsibility to ensure that their performance improves. So I had to give them the tools to get them to improve their performance. No matter what happens, I am accountable for every single one of the team members and what they do and how they produce. I am as the leader, I'm accountable. I cannot divorce myself from them and from the work. If they're not doing well, what can I do to help them improve? And if they don't want to do well and they don't want to be there, then hey, you're free not to be there. But if they want to be there or if they have to be there, then they will have to perform. Even if it takes me pulling them, coaching them, pulling them along the way, I will have to do that. Any other questions? Does anybody have their hands up?
I don't see any hands up. I think Abebu did not say anything. No hands up, no questions, except you've seen a question on the chat, but to the best of my knowledge, I don't see any. If somebody has a question or something that is bothering him or her, you can raise your hand up and express yourself.
So actually we have about 15 minutes. Let me see.
Josephina just raised her hand up again.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. There's a contribution I wanted to make in terms of the funding of the research work in the African countries. I think if we have proper representations in the Senate and in the Parliament, whereby we get political goodwill to get funding from the government, I think that can help us improve research work in Africa.
Absolutely, thank you for that. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen because I did promise that I will go through SurveyMonkey, Monkey Survey. I keep missing that. Let me see if you can see my, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So this is surveymonkey.com. It's free. To do sample surveys is free. I think you can get a survey to up to 1,000 responses for free. So you just go in there, you sign up, and then you can create your survey here. So here's the surveys that you guys took, and these are my other old surveys that I worked on before. So if I go into that one, it's not very difficult to work. You can design your survey. I don't know if my internet will be good enough. So you probably you practically just go in there and put in your information, put in your questions. I had an informed consent form here because we want to respect the guidelines. So you enter your questions, and then you can collect your responses. The way I collected them was by sending the link, but you can do like an email invitation. So far you see that I have 214 responses. Very good. Bravo to everyone. I will take the time to do a short summary, maybe 1 or 2 pages, and share it with the organizers of this meeting. But this particular survey was about assessing yourself as a leader. So you can so it's easy. If you want to share the link, I can just I'm going to close this survey, by the way. I'll probably close it today. So after today, if you go into the link, it will not work because I'll have to close it. I'm closing it because I wanted the people involved in this leadership workshop to participate in the survey. If I leave it open, the link can be sent to so many places and I will not be able to control the bias anymore. So that's why after this, after we finish here, I'll probably close it. So you can see that you can collect, you can analyze your results. This is a good thing about SurveyMonkey, where you don't have to do the analysis. You don't have to do the basic analysis yourself by hand, but you can do advanced analysis where you actually you export it into Excel or you export it into a statistical analysis platform, and you can do deeper analysis. So you can see, for example, here, the first question was about consent. So everybody that responded said yes to consenting. And then, sorry, I didn't want to show the people's names. So here's one of the questions, the years of experience. So in this particular survey, you see that the majority of the people had between 3 to 5 years of experience. I am aware of my leadership strengths and weaknesses. So most people said that they may not be that aware, or they're somewhat aware, they're more aware than most, or they're very well aware. So you see how SurveyMonkey does the basic analysis for you. Let me see here. So you can do multidimensional analysis. Like I said, you can export it into other platforms to do other analysis. SurveyMonkey will help you with presenting the results. But for this one, you had to set up a dashboard, which I didn't do. But it's a function that is there. So as you can see, you can get a summary. I had 217 responses. Most of the responses came in yesterday. The day before, I had 43 responses. On the 15, 43. On the 16, I want to go. Hold on. Okay, I think it's my internet. On the 16th, we even had more responses. And on the 17th today, we had 30 responses. On the 16th, I think my internet is not fast enough. So basically, it's very simple. It's free if you are the only user, and I think you want less than 1,000. But there's also a paid version of it if you're actually using this in your research, and that you know that you're going to have more than 1,000 users. It may be something that you put in your budget. The cost of SurveyMonkey. So I don't know, are there any questions on SurveyMonkey? Leo, do you see questions?
I don't see questions. I think it's well sorted. Excellent session. Thank you. So everyone is, I think the majority are satisfied. The job well done. I think they have a take-home message, which it's our objective. I believe we are all happy to be here. And I don't know if there's somebody, I see somebody raise the hand. If somebody
Yes,
has raised
please. We have 10 minutes. Let's take advantage of the 10 minutes.
Somebody has raised the hand, he or she might unmute their mic and express themselves.
No one?
No reaction. No reaction. I think
Nobody's courageous. I see something in the Q&A. Yeah, there's a question there.
okay, yeah, I've seen it. Thank you for this information. I like your example about budget sharing when we were talking about transparency with the team. But transparency can indeed boomerang. Are there any rules or tips to help sort out what information to give and what to whom?
Okay, so there's actually what they call a communication plan. There's a communication plan, and you can find templates online. Basically, you plan out how you communicate, with whom you communicate, what information goes to who and when. So you know who needs to know what at what particular time. I like the example of when we're in a crisis. I do go back to COVID because I remember this very, very clearly, where information sharing is extremely sensitive. You don't want to say the wrong thing to the wrong person, because then you can have chaos. That's when transparency goes bad. So it makes sense to take some time to plan your information. So for example, you know that with your team, you have weekly meetings. What are the weekly meetings? What is the objectives? Who needs to attend, for example? So that's one thing. You know that you need to communicate with your sponsors, your donors. Some sponsors, like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they don't need to know all the time what you're doing. They just want you to send them a report once a year. And they even give you the format for that report. It's usually, it can be, I had a grand challenge with a grand challenge grant with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And it was so simple. Even the application was simple. The reporting was simple. It was 1 year, 12 months, and you send them the report. But some funders will want to meet with you maybe monthly, or they might want to meet with you quarterly. So that goes into your communication plan. You might need to communicate with your institution, the dean of your faculty, the rector of your institution. How do you do that? What format? What kind of information do you need to give them? So it's really for you to sit down and plan it out. And I do stand by what I was saying about budget. Not everybody needs to know everything. The information that you end up divulging has to be specific, and it has to be worthy for that person to know. For example, in your house, in your family, I don't think you sit down and discuss your children, your monthly budget. Oh, we're going to spend this much on food this month. We're going to spend this much on education. Or you don't have that conversation with your children, but you do have that conversation with your spouse, for example. So it's not everybody that needs to know everything all the time. Leo, I see one question.
Yes, there is one question. Apparently, there is a challenge of operationalizing research finding in Africa, making a research less impactful. How can we go about it to make our research findings impactful?
Actually, from my particular experience, it's the opposite. It's really the opposite. Because there are not too many of us researchers in Africa, I feel that the results that I have produced end up being impactful and used in the field right there and then. It might be because I'm an epidemiologist, so that means that my research finds solutions for controlling diseases in the community. So that's quite easy. Maybe it's because of my field. But what I have done in my research projects, in conceptualizing, during the concept phase, in conceptualizing, I include the policymakers. For example, my expertise in tuberculosis. Every single one of my grants involves the National Tuberculosis Program in Cameroon. Every single one. They are my team members. Every single one. And because they are the ones who implement. They're the ones who make policies when it comes to tuberculosis. So it makes sense to have them on your team. Remember, advocacy, we are scientists. We're not advocates. Yeah, advocates, yes, I agree. But we do have an obligation to influence advocacy. The way I do it, I bring the policymakers into my team. I bring them in. They're part, sometimes they're even investigators. Sometimes they're even investigators. I did do a study for neglected diseases. I went to the Ministry of Health and they gave me the specialists that they have. This is in Cameroon. I contacted them, told them about the study, works with them in the concept phase. You don't want to bring them in the end because we're used to bringing them in once we are disseminating. They might actually have a different point of view than yours as a researcher because they may be closer to the community. And they may even have tools that you didn't know about. And do you know why I usually bring, one of the reasons I usually bring the National TB program? They have laboratories that are furnished. They have equipment. They have in French is reactive. The all the solutions that they need.
Have reagents and
reagents, that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you.
Yeah.
So now you see that I'm not a native French speaker. A native English speaker. I'm a native French speaker, not a native English speaker. So they have the equipment, they have the reagents, they have the thank you, Balthazar, thank you. They have the trained, they have the trained resources, human resources. So that saves me money. It saved me money in the end because I sought out the patients, they did the test, I did the data collection, my team and I did the analysis, but they're part of the team. So think about that. Think about bringing the policymakers as team members, You can bring them in as a steering committee member. You can bring them in as a steering committee member so that they're involved in the decision-making of your project. The steering committee may meet maybe once a quarter. And then you tell them about how things are progressing, what barriers you have, and they actually help you to think. So that's one way that I found that I actually had a very direct impact on policies. And my work in the US didn't have as much impact on policies as my work in Africa.
Thank you so much.
What do you want to do? We are over time.
Yes, so it's very important. And this last part, I just want to ask, it's a personal observation regarding your comment. I think when the policymakers at the end of the research or the work or the whatever you're doing, how do you impact the policymakers in the sense that is there a way the results are being implemented? how do you follow up so that the tools or the kits you've come up with, those policymakers or the Ministry of Public Health take it into consideration? Do you design a toolkit that you put online that everyone can see, and those who are not part of the team can see as well, so that they can follow up?
So policy changes take a lot of time. But sometimes I'll give you the example, one of the examples with the National TB Program. When I came to Cameroon 15 years ago, I noticed that the National TB Program was definitely set up and it was working very well. So for example, the BCG vaccination in children is one of the best, has one of the best coverages. It's like over 95% coverage. So basically, almost all children in Cameroon are vaccinated with BCG. So there are some instances where they do very, 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 very well. But, and then they have these testing and diagnostic centers all over. I think in the whole country of Cameroon, they have, I think it's 168, if I'm not mistaken. So there's really good coverage. But what I noticed is that, yes, that infrastructure is there, but they wait for the patients to come to them. How many people in our own family do you know that are coughing, 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 coughing? Do you go to the doctor? No. You go to the guy down the street who sells medicine. Whether he knows what he's doing, you don't even know. You go to the nurse down the street who opened a clinic informally. So what I told them, I said, hold on. Have you noticed that you're waiting for people to come to you? What if you go to them? What if you actually go and look for cases in the community? They don't have the resources to do that. I had a grant with resources to do that. So together, we work together. The money from the grant brought in certain resources. The money from their program brought in certain resources. And let me tell you, now, the National TB Program, in the yearly budget, they have informal healthcare providers that they work with. And that is solely, uniquely, due to the work that I did with them in 2011, I think. So you don't bring them at the end. You bring them at the beginning. They may even have tools that maybe they're not using optimally. It makes sense to bring them at the beginning when you're conceptualizing your work, not at the end when you're all finished and you say, here are the tools. That is more difficult.
Okay, thank you. We are above time and a very exciting session. I think from the part of participants, I think it's really, really, really excellent. Sylvie will give you thumbs up, and I knew you would do it, and you did it. So Louise and the team, we really, really appreciate your support. It was successful. I just want to say thank you, and we will have more of
give
this.
Yourself a hand.
Exactly. So
Leo yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. You all.
And all the
excellent.
participants, you're not on camera and you're probably muted, but please, I hope that you're giving yourself a hand for taking the time. It was 2 days, taking the time to participate, taking the time to make it interactive. I cannot thank you enough because it helps so much when the sessions are interactive. So give yourself a hand.
Great. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.